Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 12 of Voices of Enoch, the Outriders podcast. And today we'll be discussing the changes after New Horizon, our thoughts, how, the game state feels, how the classes feels, the change to Fortress and Moaning Winds, etc., etc. But our first topic of discussion is the quality of life of the game at the moment, like thoughts on the current quality of life. And honestly, I think, and I think everybody would agree, it's been in the best state it has been in a long time. I think personally, the quality of life has been, I suppose, the best it's been, but that's only my take on it.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Tiago rerolls definitely made a lot of people happy. And also, it seems like the game state is also in a better state. Like the game crashes a lot less lately.
The only time
Yeah,
I've personally noticed my game crashing is when it's on crossplay and an older generation console tries to join sometimes. I've had like
correct.
2 or 3 hard crashes regarding that, but aside from that, yeah, it's been buttery smooth.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That's the only time that I've ever had any crashes. It's when someone in the older generation console joins me. Outside of that, I haven't had any issues. Um, as far as the game, playing it, logging on, anything like that. So I think that's really great. The quality of life is good. Tiago's amazing. Skipping the intro is also amazing.
I think they can still improve on that a little bit. I still actually went to my game files and just renamed the video because every time I tried to press escape when it popped up, it would still be a little laggy, and I had to see the bird, so that was my personal preference. But
So,
yeah, speaking of the Tiago rerolls, that is insane. By the way, it is absolutely insane.
yeah, it definitely worked. Me trying to put a Borealis Devastator build made it a whole lot easier to where as long as I had drop pod resources, I just went on my techno, was able to get a couple pieces that I needed, and then you know what I mean, made life a whole lot easier. So I mean, I see that it is definitely a good thing. So Tiago is definitely one of the biggest things and one of the biggest changes that they made that was welcomed by the community very well. So.
I think another reason that Tiago like resource change is like kind of one of the top improvements is the fact we also have something else to like spend resources on, rather than sitting there with max resources all day. And
Mhm.
like, I don't know, it kind of has like a better like flow to like the gameplay experience.
Mhm.
Oh
That
yeah,
and
so they removed the timers, right? But there, I think they might change the resources gain because I feel like we don't gain enough resources right now in expeditions. Maybe you guys disagree.
mm, so maybe with some more resources for like getting a gold with the timer on type of thing.
So
No,
you,
no, 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 no. Just changing the balance of the resource gain from each expedition, right? Because I feel like you should be getting like 75k, 80k like profit, right, from
right.
expeditions. Because I mean, the costs when you're level 50 on the rerolls and stuff are pretty high.
Yeah.
So I definitely feel like they should play a little bit with the resources gained from completing expeditions. But overall, removing the timer was a great change for everybody.
Yeah.
We'll discuss timers a little bit in detail, so I don't want to get too like hold up on the
I
timers,
mean,
but
it's
I
a
agree
quality of
with the
life. It
drop
is a
pod
quality of
resources.
it is a quality of life change removing the
It
timer.
is, it is, it is.
Even though I don't know if they would ever do it, but I think removing the cap on resource drop out resource could also be a thing they could implement where like you instead of being capped, you could just have an infinite amount if you wanted to, But
Oh,
I don't see that being a possible thing. But it'd be nice if they remove the cap.
it's a good idea.
Cause like that way they could leave the price the same, but since you can have an infinite amount, you know,
True,
there you
true.
Oh,
go.
that's
Good
very
idea
true.
as well. Yeah, just removing the cap because the cap is pretty restrictive at 1 million.
The fact that
Yeah.
you can buy over your cap shows us that it's possible, right? Because I know like a lot of the veteran players have noticed this, but you can legitimately like buy 10 million plus scraps or whatever, but you can only hold 1 million 99999, right?
Right.
So
No,
I
I think that
mean,
definitely would be good because you can get through that 1 million so fast, can't you? Though I
Yeah,
mean,
you
I
oh,
can.
did,
done.
I
It's
did it in
gone.
5 minutes. I did it in 5 minutes, and less than 5 minutes. I was looking for the Borealis. I was like, oh shit, damn, I'm down already. Fuck, okay, you know.
That'd be another kind of grind too. Like, just having a day where one person does the reroll or, rolls the maps and everything, and you just save and grind all day to get, a billion resources or something so you can so you have that for your own like reroll session at some point the next day.
Hmm.
I do agree with Big Daddy's original point, though. I think the expeditions giving less rewards on some maps is a little bit frustrating because I look at Kempland as a good example, right? I know it costs nothing to go to Kempland, but only getting 31,000 from completing Kempland, which arguably is one of the harder maps in the game, seems a little bit, disgenerous to the map's difficulty. But I think a little rework there would be nice, and something
Yeah.
to do with the fact that Maffeine mentioned earlier too, how players can just join on you and they get the full resources, but the one actually going to the map has to pay the full resources, right? So
Mm.
there's maybe
But
another
it's
avenue to be
also,
looked forward
yeah,
to. I don't know.
that's also questionable because yeah, the people joining get the full reward, but the guy actually picking the map has to pay half the price.
Mm-hmm.
That part sits deep in my heart because
So what you're saying is like if doing a group expedition, instead of charging one person, they charge our three and split the price like that. That could be something they also could do.
Sure,
Don't know if
sure.
they could do it, but it could be a way
Oh,
to make it even.
I mean, or just lower the cost, honestly.
Yeah, they
well,
could.
yeah,
yeah, maybe just
I would
slightly lower the
say,
cost. That I'd be
Like
okay with
uh,
that.
you could just lower the
yeah,
cost to entry and lower the rewards in in
yeah.
translation. Like you don't need to have these crazy cost of entries to maps. Kind of crazy.
Yeah, because I do feel like the cost and gain from some maps are really high. Like I think one map you literally gain like 10k drop pod resources and it costs like 50k. So like the gain from some isn't that high. So I definitely see what you mean right there.
So I'm kind of curious of what they utilize to determine. I mean, I think I have an idea comparing like how long it takes you, and they kind of base it off the timer from what they used to have. But I think Plato did prove a point that like Chem Plant is not a long expedition, but it is one of the difficult ones. So would determining or would just saying that, hey, you know what, here's a blanket, having a blanket reward for certain, let's say, levels of expedition. So what I'm trying to say is, you know how there's certain expeditions that unlock at like certain tiers. So you have like a blanket for like the ones that are early on, you get 30k. The ones that come on midway of your tiers, you get 60k or 50k, and then those ones that you do have to pay for, you get about 80k, because I know some of them is like 35,000. So to kind of make it worthwhile, right? So if I'm paying 35,000 drop pods to get into an expedition, but I'm only going to get 68, so in turn I'm only getting 33 drop pods, really, where I can just run a, you know, what is it, Heart of the Wild, and get 50. Like, why would I waste trot pods to try to get into, I don't know, Coliseum
I
when
mean,
I'm
also if you fail, right, you lose those drop pods.
exactly. So I would say maybe like do some type of blanket like that. If it's, hey, those early ones, hey, here you go. Here's 40, you get 40 from all of these. The mid ones you get 60, and then the ones that you have to pay for, you know, if I'm gonna pay 30,000 or 40,000 to get into them, then I should be able to get more in return than all the other ones that I'm, you know what I mean? Than all
Yeah,
the other
yeah, makes
expeditions.
sense.
Yeah, I should be able to get more. So even if I can get 100k drop pods out of this one, but I'm paying, you know what I'm saying? I'm paying 30 or 40. So in turn I'm getting 60. You see what I'm saying? So like that should be something that they definitely should take a look at. You know what I'm saying? Um but that's an idea that we can bring up, maybe a solution in a little, suggestion box, suggestion channel, and say, hey, this is something that's going to be beneficial, because personally, I wouldn't want to run Wellspring or City of Nomad if I'm paying for it and now I'm not getting in return what I can get from running Boomtown. Like we kind of run into that same situation that they had before, you know what I mean? So something definitely to take a look at.
So what if this might be a completely crazy idea, but what about like a betting system or something where you're like, okay, well, I know this group that I'm with, we can get gold, so let's bet such and such drop pod resources that we can, and increase.
I mean,
Multiple-
I think the developers are just moving completely away from
Yeah.
timers in general.
Yeah.
I think so too.
So yeah, it's kind of pointless trying to try to.
I would be so okay with it though. Like, okay, imagine if it's like you want additional drop pod resources, we're bringing the timers back, like with World Slayer, right? We heard your complaints. You wanted the timers gone, we gave it to you. Now you want them back. Here's a compromise, right? Like, if you do get gold, maybe you get more drop pod resources, right? You get a, like, I don't know, like a bonus or something. I don't know. I'm just
Yeah, I see
trolling.
what Matt
They're
kinda
they're
meant
not
when
gonna
I
do
think
it. They're
about
not gonna do
that.
it.
I
Yeah,
think
I
of what
don't
they
see
did in
that.
Aliens Fireteam with the challenge card system thing. Something
Yeah,
like
some-
that
I
would
was-
be
yeah, yeah,
cool
yeah.
to have. Something like that could be cool to have.
Oh, that
Ooh,
would be cool. Yeah, like
that
a
would be
challenge
pretty
card, like
hot.
saying like okay,
Yeah.
you run a whole expedition with just alphas and then you get
Yeah,
an
something
extra
Oh.
certain amount.
Well, yeah, but that's
Oh,
for the
yeah.
DLC, right? Like that's for the DLC. Like that's
Oh,
not.
yeah,
I
adding
mean,
that's
I'm
for
value
the
just
to the
saying that's
game.
not a bad
Yeah.
idea though. Like,
That's not a
hey,
bad
you
idea for the
reward extra-
DLC.
I mean,
Oh,
modifiers.
Palm,
Yeah.
big braid.
People have been saying this for a while now. Modifiers, adding modifiers.
Yeah.
It's like yeah.
That just spice stuff up a bit, you know, because
Yeah.
that could be a lot of fun.
You get an extra
Oh, yeah.
15,000 if you complete
That'd
it
be
with
so
just
hot.
straight alphas and elites, the alphas and the bosses, and that's it.
Ooh.
Oh
Right?
That'd be pretty hot.
Something else we spoke about, City 15 plus.
Yeah.
I
I'm
think
guaranteed that's gonna happen. Like, that has to happen
Yeah,
with
that
World
has
Slayer,
to.
right? CT 15 plus has to happen, and average level cap increase has to happen. And the great thing about it is everything is upgradable. So that's when the resource grind begins again when they do this, right? So
Absolutely.
maybe that's when they'll consider uncapping those resources. It all comes back, but the resource grind is gonna get heavy when they increase the level cap and add CT 15 plus or some variation of that.
Yes.
And I can't wait. That's gonna be pretty fucking hot.
But yeah, I don't think they will, reintroduce timers. I mean, they might.
Oh,
who
no.
knows? But
No, I
tying
don't think
anything
so.
to timers, I think they will just keep that out of the game from now on.
Yeah, I mean they saw the feedback, right? Everybody there was it was positive feedback for the for getting rid of the timers. So I agree with Big Daddy here. They're not, or Dude with the Blunt, they're not gonna bring it back.
Yeah, no,
I
the
mean, they
timer
have-
things is
yeah.
done. The timer things is 100% done.
What I would
It's
like
out
to
the
add to
window.
this actually is I want to be able to see my CT 15 level capo, and I'm gonna mention this as well. But I would like to see my CT 15 with my timer versus having to turn on the quest tracker, because admittedly the quest tracker is annoying in the expeditions, you know. But that's my little rant on that subject, because before it would show CT 15 plus the timer and you could turn off the quest tracker, but now you have to turn the quest tracker back on to see the CT 15. Anyways, small ramble, but that's just my take on that little bit of quality of life change for me personally.
Yeah.
Did anybody have any more to bring up on this topic before we go to the next one?
No, sir. No, I didn't.
Works
Anything
for me.
you guys would add? Anything you guys think are missing from this update? I mean, I got an idea right here. Fucking
Oh, do it right now.
inventory
Do it right now.
Inventory
Stuff missing.
revamp. Change the
Oh,
old inventory. I want the log gear. I want
Oh, yeah.
I want 300 million more stash space. I want loadouts. I want,
Yeah.
like
I would say
You know
this.
what I'm gonna say to that? Server capacity for the stash.
Yeah.
For the stash.
Oh,
But yeah.
server capacity. Have you looked at what the server look like? Like, they save your items, your characters, and that's it. There's nothing else on the servers. So don't come at me with that server capacity bullshit.
I mean, I'm not coming at you with it. That's what they're gonna come at you with it. So I mean, yeah, I want all of those changes you just mentioned. And I think
Oh,
with
yeah,
the
but you
DLC,
need-
no, I
you know-
know with the DLC they have to include loadouts and locked gear. Loadouts is another issue too, for adding more
Yeah,
things
log
onto
gear,
this.
loadouts, more stash, skill loadouts, gear loadouts, like really a whole inventory system revamp is really what the game needs.
I
would
dislike the
say
inventory system so much. It is so garbage. I agree. It is horrible. It's just bad.
I would say this. I wouldn't be surprised if that's something that will be included in World Slayers. I think that's something that they needed more time. With the past 7 months, with PCF, Square Enix working on patches, working on trying to get the game to what it should have been when it released. I think that's something that they were like, hey, let's not that's not like a priority right now. Let's get the game in a good state, and I think that's the purpose of New Horizon. Get the game into the state and what it should have been. Let's get that, and then I foresee that possibly, because listen, I mean, Plato and Maffeine can attest. Like, you see it in the ambassadors Discord. Like, you just see it, them constantly hearing about loadouts, stash space,
Yeah.
lock gear. And I know with Toby or the Arkin, if you guys, with him coming around to everyone's stream, I know that's something that he gets beat up with, right? So I would not be surprised if we start seeing those things when World Slayers um drops, because they know the community wants it so bad, right? And I think with what we saw from New Horizon, I think we can hopefully, right? We can like legitimately hope that this comes, because they gave us Tiago, right? And that's something that everyone was asking for. They gave us Transmog, something everyone was asking for. So I think we'll see that in World Slayers.
Yeah, I think that
Sorry, Maffin, go ahead.
you're good. I think that as one of the bigger trends in the gaming industry right now with skins and all that, I think transmog was like, I think it was a fantastic move to add to the game, even for people that are, aren't the type to buy skins. Like, just having that like next level of customization to call your character your own, and not look like everybody else, and just have that. And I'd like to see them expand on that, even if just a little bit, if it's just like the most simple level of like other customization. Like, I think it'd be, I'm hopeful to see more of that in World Slayer.
I want
Oh yeah,
colors
we
to
need
be added in World Slayer.
different skins for our abilities. Or you're a genius, Math.
Oh,
Oh, different skill. Oh, that would be so hot.
I want a red
Oh,
gold snap.
I want a
want a
red
purple
gold snap.
or
Oh
green.
my god,
I want a
Jesus,
green
man.
time rift, bro. I want a green time rift. Yo, blaze it.
Oh my god, they give you it.
No, I want a
you guys
Rasta
want a
time rift.
mile.
Bruh, I want a Rasta time
Oh
rift. All right, that's
my
what I want in the game. I
God.
want some Rasta cold snaps.
Guys,
PCF, give it to
come
me.
on, man.
Math, you're making the
See?
millions.
My
Look at the
bullets will
microtransactions you're missing out on, PCF.
Oh my god.
You give me a
bullets
Rasta
will
time rift,
penetrate.
I'll pay $100.
What you want? You next thing you know, you're gonna want blighted rounds to be pink. What
Yes.
the hell?
With Rainbow Trail, right?
Oh
And
my god.
in the background.
I cannot, man. See, this is what's wrong. You guys asked for one thing,
No,
they
what you
give it to
mean?
you, and I was like, no, you can make no. Now we want this, and it's like, Jesus Christ.
No, Big Daddy is right though. And Maffine brought it. Oh my god, you guys are geniuses.
like
What would you be looking forward to most if they added that, Big Daddy? Dude,
Oh,
with
no,
the
but
blood, sorry.
I mean, I'm exaggerating there, but I was just thinking like general customization of the game, like skills they could change. What else could they change? You know?
Yeah.
like Call of Duty, for example, they have like, I mean, you can buy all those packs, but there's like the different colored like tracers. So when you shoot, your bullet, your shots and everything has like a different tracers to it. Like, just like little things like that. Like, I think would be a nice touch.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
want to
there's
see
the
Moloch.
emotes,
Sorry.
it's okay. I mean, there's also like the camp, right? The camp could be more customizable, so you have your own little hideout.
I'm not gonna lie. I've said this to Toby plenty of times. I just saw it in your chat. I have every time I mention it to him, right? And it's been several times. I've always gotten the right? And that is not a static attributes on legendaries, right? Like now, like they just drop or whatever. Like just make them random.
Well, I think having a separate difficulty is really the solution. like we've been saying, because
Yeah,
you
for those
want to
ads,
keep
yeah.
you want to keep the people that are new to the expedition experience. They still want those sets attributes because they don't want to get the wrong attributes on their set, right, or the wrong mod, because then
Right.
it ruins the build. But for people that are pushing the limits of their builds, then right, you add another difficulties for these random attributes. Definitely the way they should go, I
Yeah.
think.
I think Big Daddy's, sorry, Dude the Blunt's on point there. I think that is just the best way to go about it because the point he makes there
Not.
is solid for newer players. That's so spot on.
Mm,
Like, CT15 plus, like challenge mode, you want legendaries
mhm.
that drop random attributes. Make the Ugake cow like a 0.001% or whatever, Like make it the old drop rate, the old loot drop rates even go that far if you can. But that would be something that is very desirable for me personally, and I'm sure a lot of other players that want to min max and really just push the builds as far as they can go.
Cause there's some things that you can definitely do. Like you can really push some builds, but we'll leave builds conversation for another day because that's like a whole different topic. Oh my goodness.
Shall
What was?
we move
Yeah, what
on
was
or
gonna say?
stay on this? Sorry, Matt, go ahead.
I think we're good to move on.
Good to move on? Okay, sure. We're going to move on to the additional content thoughts that they added to New Horizon. And the only content they added was these new expeditions. So, thoughts on these new expos, because they added the Wellspring, which in my opinion is the hardest map in the game to complete, strictly because of the shaman fight. Then you
Shama.
have
Oh my
the
god.
City of Nomads, which has an amazing Easter egg. At the end, it doesn't make it the hardest expedition because it's an Easter egg. You can want to fight Baby Agate if you want. And then you have Marshall Complex, which is a very like big open mixture of like enemies types, and overall it has a good flow to it. And then you also have Molten Depths, which is probably my least favorite of the entire expansion expansion, the New Horizon update as far as the expos goes. But I'm having a lot of fun time on all the expos regardless. They introduced the new bosses, the shaman, the spider, and yeah, generally they made those maps insanely crazy in size and in mobs. So your guys' thoughts?
I think that I think this is a good indication to hopefully what we are gonna see in World Slayers. That's how I'm looking at it. I'm looking at what they presented to us, and I think it was just more of like, let's see the player base reaction to these new expeditions. And obviously, the reaction has been welcome. I mean, the new expeditions have been welcomed. Everyone is enjoying them. Everyone likes I don't want to say it's the increase in difficulty, but the difficulty of adding more mobs, more elites to the battlefield. It also kind of made certain mods useful, right? Obviously, certain mods need to get buffed, right? Like some anomaly mods, but that's a whole different subject. But now that mod that says, hey, you're gonna get an increase in anomaly power based on however many elites are on the battlefield. And just like you said, if you go to Wellsprings or if you go to especially like City of Nomads or I'm having a brain fart, but if you go to these and now there's like 6 elites on the battlefield, now it's like, okay, now I'm definitely can do, I could do some damage, right? Um, the overwhelm, how you get kind of overwhelmed or you can get overwhelmed with mobs. I think this is really, 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 really a good thing. I've enjoyed it. I enjoyed testing it. I still enjoy playing it. Um, and it's not easy, right? They didn't make it easy. It's still the same
Definitely didn't.
difficulties.
They're
Oh
all
Um,
man, they
faster
didn't.
than Out of the Wild, though.
you know what
Yeah,
I'm
thank
saying?
goodness.
You know, I would say this though. I would say this, and I think it wouldn't be a bad change if you kind of added some of what you did on the new expeditions, you did it to the old ones. Like just add more mobs now and add an elite or two in there to kind of switch it up, right? To kind of like break up hey, I know where to go and I know where they're coming from, and kind of, I think the player base, well, me personally, I would enjoy running those maps a little bit more now, or I would start enjoying them again because it's a little bit different now, right? I have more
Yeah.
ads. I have more things to, to do, a little bit what's the word? The unexpected change that would make people kind of want to play a little bit more than just four expedition. Because I think after, I mean, what, in about a week or two, people are gonna be like, all right, yeah, we're done. Right? It's just four expedition. But if you would have done it across the board to the other 13 expeditions, that's not including Eye of the Storm, but you do it to the other 13, you add more mobs, you add more elites in there. I think that would have been awesome. You know what I mean? That would have been really good. But I've enjoyed it. I told you guys I was excited after testing it. So I've enjoyed it. I think that's great.
I'm with Capo with like this update being kind of like showing us what's to come essentially, and
Yeah.
like the steps that they're making forward. So I mean, I haven't played this update too much. I've kind of, I'm still a little bit burnt out after like that grind that I put in like at the beginning of the game. But like the bit I did play, I think the levels were innovative. I think innovative from what they had, I guess I should say. And like the little Easter eggs were a nice little touch, and it makes me kind of it makes me optimistic of what's to come with the upcoming expansion and how they'll expand on that. If maybe we'll get some like more interesting Easter eggs, maybe we'll get maybe some deeper quests for like exclusive, quest specific like Legos or something, that
I
I
think they're gonna add. I think they're gonna work on adding some, maybe not all Easter eggs, but like something with maybe getting new skins doing X Y Z or something like that, because they
mhm.
saw how popular it is. Like everybody loves these Easter eggs, so I'm sure they're. I mean, hopefully they work on something similar to add more to the cosmetic gain, because when people see like new skins and stuff, they'll want to log on back to obtain it and all that. So it's another good way to get players in. But that's going to be up to them there. But overall, I think the four new maps and mostly all of the issues that they fix, throughout the months, for those that left it, they can come back to a lot smoother experience, and they are going to get their asses kicked on these maps because they are difficult maps to complete. Um, but if you
I
put the
think
time into it, sorry, go ahead.
no, it's okay. But I think they kind of baited a couple people with the new weapons tag, if you know what I mean. Because
Yeah,
like I heard a
yeah.
lot of people when the update got announced asking new legendaries. Where's the legendaries? There is no new legendaries, and maybe that's a button they could have pressed with this update. Honestly, just adding a couple items, just to spice things up. Because I feel like just the playable content is a good thing for sure, but like adding something to chase as well to give reason to play the content, I think would have added another aspect for people. So yeah, maybe that's a mistake, but I guess we'll see in the long run.
I think they're going to be doing that for New Horizon in some way. I mean, not New Horizon,
You mean
sorry,
the
World
World
Slayer in
Slayer?
some way. Yeah, I mean World Slayer.
Yeah, I would ask this. Maybe it was good that they didn't introduce
Yeah,
new
I think so
legendary,
too.
right?
Yeah.
Because like, what would be the purpose, right? There's no, I mean,
Yeah.
the there was no difficulty change, right? And then all there was is they just introduced more mobs and more elites to the battlefield, which with the right group and the right synergy, um, you're able to accomplish it, right? And now that time is not a factor, that's even better, right? I mean, I know I was against the time change, but I knew there was benefits to it. But it literally gave people the opportunity to um play whatever the hell they want to play, right? And I think that leaving new legendaries and anything else new would be best for World Slayer because
Yeah.
thoroughly, and maybe this could be a different topic for another day, but if I lo- if I was a betting man, I would bet that our campaign is going to be a little bit different if we, with the expedition, I think it's safe to say that we can expect a new campaign. I know that expeditions are going to be way different compared to what they gave us. Um, and I think that the level cap is going to be increased. And the only reason why I say level cap is going to be increased because you got your data miners and you got those guys that have went into the game and like they're like, oh yeah, I can get this level. If that stuff wasn't in the game, they wouldn't be able to do it. So I definitely foresee that happening. So I think leaving it for at that moment would be more beneficial because they're like, hey, you got these and you can start this new expedition with what you have right now. But to get to, I don't know what, 60 or level 40 and gear level 60, you're gonna need, that's the shit you're gonna need to finish these new expeditions or to get to the end or to fight this woman that that the trailer just shown. Like that's what you're gonna need. So I don't think I think it was good. I think leave all the new shit for later on and just get used to these 4 expeditions what we're giving you right now, because what we got coming for you later on might is going to be this and possibly more.
Yeah, I'm with Cappy here on them not releasing like the new Legos for
I
this one
mean,
because I think they're gonna drop it on the World Slayer if they do anything new. But what I think is potentially gonna happen, Dude with the Blunt, is they're gonna do the rework legendaries. I don't think they'll introduce new legendaries. I think they'll just rework the current ones that aren't working, possibly, and then maybe add newer legendaries for a different patch. And I mean, I could be wrong here. I would love to see more new legendary sets, new weapons, new mods, etc. But I would be okay with like Cannonball having a purpose, all of that stuff.
Why? Um. Okay. I guess. I
well, no,
think
but
people are past it, right? No.
I mean, what I'll say is, right, I don't think they did enough with the expos, personally. I think, right, the expos are great, but like, is there like a reason else than the expos to come back, right? For people that have experienced the game, the answer is no. Like, it's just a flat out true answer because they didn't do enough balance, right? Let's be real. The legendary sets, you can play around with them, but they're basically in the same state they were before. Like, and it just feels like they could have pushed more buttons with this update to keep people interested longer, and they really didn't.
Well,
Like, not necessarily
I
new mods or new legendaries, but just balance is a good example of something else they could have done, which they didn't do.
yeah, I agree on the balance part, Big Daddy, and we'll have a whole section on balance here and that we'll get to. Um, but I think it was personally okay that they, I think it got honestly back a lot of players, right? We can look at the Steam charts as an example. Now, we don't know if these numbers are going to hold, months in advance, but if you guys want to take a look at the Steam charts here real quick, let me go and put it up. Ah, shit. It's actually looking really good, better than it's ever been before. I think they did enough to get back the folks that literally left the game like a week in or a month in, right? Who
True,
probably never
true.
really got to experience all those expeditions, and they got their items wiped, and they're like, screw this, and then they had their moment where they cooled off, and then now they're back. They see that this update's free. They're coming back and checking it out some more. But I also agree with you. For the veteran players who have been playing this game, the 4 expos is definitely not enough. The balance is definitely not enough, and we'll have a whole section on balance here coming up. But for us, I think the weight has to be World Slayer. But for all of those people I just mentioned, they're having the time of their lives playing this game, especially with the timer change as well.
You know what I think? And please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm probably going to throw some questions out there
And new
for
player
you
responses,
guys.
right?
Yeah, for you guys is um I think they were spot on with what they did, right? Could they have done more? Absolutely 100%, right? But I would say this, right? I think that New Horizon was something that they just felt that they owed the community, right? Like, hey, the game was in shambles when it released. We lost a lot of players within the first couple of weeks, the first month. So let's just do this and let's see the kind of reaction that we will get, right? To see if there's still interest in the game. Okay. Obviously, there's definitely still interest in the game. I think I can attest to this. Plato, Math, and I mean anybody else who's a streamer of Outriders that's in the chat, they can attest to seeing that the viewership on the game, I think, has more than doubled um the people that are coming to the game, the amount of new players now, um I think they did it just right. And it just says like, all right, cool. This is this is what we got. People still interested. Look at that. People are coming back. The YouTubes are going crazy with builds, with guides, explanations. The streams are going insane with the carries, right? Because people want to do all these new things. And it's even gotten a whole new batch of uh players, right? That didn't buy the game because of the things that they've heard, and then now that they, is it better now? Is it worth it? Yes. Okay, now I'm gonna purchase the game. And it also kind of makes sense that they put it on sale when they drop New
Yeah.
Horizon.
That
So
was
now
a
it's
great
like,
move.
yeah. So now it's like, okay, not only do we have the old crew kind of interested, looking into it and asking and viewing, but now we've had this whole, you know, new batch of new players that essentially is going to replace the individuals that just said, you know what, I'm done with the game. I'm not even going to come back. So now all these individuals are waiting for World Slayer, and that's why I have high hopes for World Slayer. So I think they actually, you know, it was more of a let's see what's out there. Do we still have people's attention? But I do agree that more could have been done. But I think because the focus was mostly on fixing the game, those things didn't get done, right? And I foresee those things happening in the coming future for World Slayer.
You know, when you were talking about the sales and stuff, one thing did come to mind that I think we forgot to address in quality of life, so I'm just going to mention it real quick. I really wish this game had a cross saving, and we can just leave it at that. I think we can all agree really quickly
Yeah.
that cross saving would be amazing, especially the issues that I'm seeing with the Game Pass posts. If people that have played that I want to switch off of Game Pass to like Steam or something, they're kind of screwed. You have to start from the beginning again. So maybe something to look towards, because cross saving would, it would be hot, but we don't have to discuss that a bit more than we need to. I think it's a feature that everybody would prefer, just because
I
when
mean,
it's a cross-platform game.
to speak to the resurgence of Outriders, I think a lot of it is also because PCF is basically saying they're not abandoning the game, right? Like,
Oh, very much, yeah.
Oh
because
yeah,
during the
that's a good point.
patch cycles before New Horizons, they kind of slowed down. The bug fixes came, few and far between. So I feel like they lost a lot of trust in that downtime. But this really shows that, they will continue working on the game in the future and content is coming. Really, it's what people were asking for a while. A roadmap is what we got. And
Mm-hmm.
That's
I
actually
think
a really great point.
that's really why what we're seeing is like an up in confidence in PCF, and so that's very great. That's very good. Like, don't take me
Mm-hmm.
wrong. I'm just saying, me personally, I would have liked a little bit, a little cherry on top, but you know, whatever. For the health of the game, for sure, the game is in a very good state compared to what it was before. That's for sure.
So I got something I want to touch on. It was brought to mind with Capo mentioning like the timer change and like all the people coming back and stuff. And I just kind of I want you guys to take on this, and it's something it has me a little bit like I like the timer change, but I think I think the timer change has caused like literally this huge spread of like misinformation about the game. I think with timers not being so common now, and people not being able to see if you choose not to have them on, people are saying like, "Oh my god, this is the best build ever. Check this out. I beat this stage." And I feel like that's an issue for people like trying to learn. They could be held back they could be stuck and then say, my guns suck, my build sucks because this person said it's the best. I'm not doing anything. I'm stuck.
No,
I
I
don't
mean,
you
I
guys
mean,
see
I'm
ultimately,
not gonna
right?
comment.
No, but like we can speak about it. It's
no,
very
we can
simple.
speak it back. Maffeine brings up a
It's a
really good point
person.
too.
It's a people, right? It's a person per person case, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Like, everybody's different, and
Yeah.
people will be fine not being super optimal and going
yeah,
the fastest possible, and other people will not be fine and will seek out that information themselves. So
yeah.
ultimately, I think you do bring up a point that it could, like, we'll see some strange interactions, maybe like people doing strange builds and coming and asking, "What am I doing? No damage." Maybe that will happen, but ultimately, I think people will, moderate themselves, so we shouldn't worry about it too much.
No, due to the blunt brings up a good point here. The people that want to like their drive, it depends on like their research. So it is going to be up to the individual to say, hey, this build says it's the best build, but I'm looking at the damage numbers here, and then I look over at like somebody else's build, and they're doing better damage numbers. What's different? And then it'll kind of just go from there. The YouTube algorithm does work in a sense, so sooner or later they will end up on that path if they so choose it. But yeah, like Big Daddy said, person by person basis. But
Yeah, dude with the blunt has always like said certain things, and I've always kept it to heart, right? Um, right now it's cool, right? Right now it's cool to sit 30, 40 minutes or more than 15 minutes or 20 minutes into an expedition, right? It's cool right now because you're in that honeymoon stage, right? You're back to, oh, we're lovey-dovey, right? But then you're gonna possibly get to that point, and then you guys just really hit it to where it's like, wait a minute, man. Why are these guys doing it in 10 minutes and I'm doing it in 25? Right? What is different? And then you look and then you start asking the questions. And I think I was watching Plato's stream the other day, and he hit it on the head, right? Um, when you have a build and you're doing 40k damage and you're at a full squad and it's scaled to a full squad, you're not doing anything. You're like 100% not doing anything. Your build is tailored for you to just stay alive, but it's gonna take you what would take me what, I don't know, 5 seconds to kill a red bar ad, right? It's taking you 10 minutes, or it's taking
okay,
you
not 10
five
minutes, but
minutes.
it's like 15
Yeah,
seconds.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
be
yeah, yeah.
reasonable.
I mean, I'm just saying it's taking you a lot longer, right? And I even me running the other day with testing the Devastator build, right? And I have Borealis on, and I'm getting debuffs, and I'm doing about 300-400k, and it's still taking me, some time to get through it. So I think you guys are correct. Maffeine, you hit it on the head. Like, everybody now is just coming up like, hey, listen, I just completed this, or hey, look, I'm doing carries. But yeah, brother, like, let's look
While
at
we're
it
on this,
correctly real
while we're on
quick.
this topic, sorry, go ahead, Capo.
Like, I want people to understand something. Like, I can put a build together, and if I complete an expedition, at the end of the expeditions, I'm gonna do a total amount of damage, right? Because
I was
obviously
gonna
I
bring this
killed
up too.
everything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, obviously I killed
That's what I
everything.
was gonna bring
So
up.
in order for me to kill everything, I have to have done 200 million damage. I had to, especially after I used like 5,000 rounds. You see what I'm saying? The difference is when you utilize a different build, right? And now he did the same expedition, did the same thing you did, but now you ask yourself, why are they doing 50 to 100 million more damage? Well, why? And that's where you have to look at it. That's what you have to pay attention to. Not because I did an expedition with, whatever class I might have used, and I'm running with a pyro, and this pyro's debuffing everything. And now I get done with the expedition, and now you're like, oh man, look at you, dude. You got 279 million. Holy shit. Well, okay, stop. Let's take a look at things, right? Let's break this down and
And
let's
to add on to
see.
that, Capo, real quick, you have to remember in this game too, damage is static. So,
Yep.
even if you do like 16 million bullets per hit, like I posted the damage command up there, the enemy still has a set amount of HP, right? So it's
Yep.
never gonna go past that HP mark. So I wouldn't take damage as like a stat to heavily focus on when you're playing the game. You're always going
Right.
to, whichever person is dealing the most damage because they're geared enough or know how to play the class will always be doing more damage.
Yep.
It doesn't mean that like they're even if it takes you 20 minutes, you're gonna do the same damage in 20 minutes that you would do in like 10 minutes, right? That
Mm-hmm.
value doesn't change. And you know, it feels like we're ranting on some of this, like we're like really like going in hard on these builds, but we're not saying these builds aren't playable. We're just saying just maybe not clickbaity and call it, you know, best when there are other alternatives that are better. Um, but I understand the YouTube algorithm, you know, and getting the views and all of that, but you know, that's where the misinformation comes. And you know, we're not like every build is viable in this game if it can complete an expedition, but viable is going to be a definition that you define. You know, if you're the type of person that just wants to take it easy, enjoy the map, and spend those times and test your build and, you know, see what works for you, what it doesn't, do it. Because a lot of people do have fun, you know, playing like these 30-minute molten deaths builds with like whatever they put up to test it and all that stuff. So I think it's exciting thing for new players. And you know, again, we come back to the whole time thing, but if you want to spend your time doing these expeditions and testing these builds and you're legitimately enjoying yourselves, you know, don't let that stop you from enjoying those builds and all of that. But
Well, I
also
think
don't
also,
post
right,
it on YouTube and call it the best.
a chatter brings up a great point, the major tool, which is that when you're starting the game, right, when you're making builds, you're learning. I feel like the timer was like a negative reinforcement, right? Like a constant reminder that you're not doing good enough, that you need to go faster, do more damage, have more survivability. So I can definitely see the value of removing the timer for people that are, you know, grinding up the CTs. And I think that's in like a point of view we lose, we forget.
Yeah, yeah. That I think that's the big thing. Like the timer thing wasn't a a bad thing. It was just rewarding the individuals that took the extra step to, however you want to play it, how do you want to put it, use a better build, or took the extra step to get better at the game, took the extra steps to do certain things. Like it was never a bad thing. I think maybe they could have just maybe worked on the drop rates a little bit more for the individuals that, hey, wanted to take their time or whatever the case may be. But I'm always a 100% firm believer in, if I'm techno and Plato Bear is techno, but it takes me 10 minutes to get through Coliseum and it takes Plato 4 minutes to get through Coliseum, then
That's too
yes,
generous.
he deserves, I know, but he deserves to get better loot than I would, right? Because it's like, let's look at like Division, for example, right? Everyone can't run legendary missions. They can't do it. 100%. They cannot do it. But guess what? If I can run legendary missions, then I deserve to get that better or higher
But I
loot
I think
drop.
this brings back Big Daddy's point, right? Like make that a challenge tier. I don't know if that's what you were gonna bring
Yeah,
up,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
would like a challenge tier for something.
I mean, not
Right.
even that though. Let's say, right, I think you're mistaken there, because the faster I do the expeditions, the more loot I get. It's automatic, right? Even with the removal of the timer, if I go through these coliseums in 5 minutes and somebody else goes through them in 10 minutes, right, and I'll just do more runs per hour, and so you
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
still like the speed equals more rewards is still in the game. Let's not act like they removed that mechanic. If you do the
Absolutely.
expeditions fast, you get the rewards faster and do more. So, you know, ultimately, I think removing the timer didn't change anything.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
why
It's
you
about
guys always on my
effectiveness.
stream. Sorry.
Except remove the negative reinforcement for new and upcoming players, which I think is a good thing ultimately.
Yeah. Which is a great thing. It's great positivity for the game because that also brought back a lot of players. Let's be real here. Removing the timers, I guarantee you, brought back thousands of players.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
oh yeah. So the positive reinforcements that they got from that is 100% correct, and you know they've seen again. I'm gonna say again, they've seen the results. So they're not. I don't believe they're gonna bring back any sort of time based stuff again, unless it's like extremely niche, or an Easter egg or something like that. Like remember when, you know, kind of thing. I don't know. Um, that's going to be up to the developers there on that regard. But do we
But yeah,
want to
so
go ahead and
I don't
keep?
think
Sorry, go ahead,
we're.
Big Daddy.
I think yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to
That's
give
okay.
a final thought that
Yep. No, it's okay.
the timer removal is just positive from my point of view,
Yes.
because
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
said,
definitely.
positive reinforcement for the new players, and the diehards like us that want to go fast still get more rewards for our work. Just the way the
Mm-hmm.
expeditions are set up. So
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, it didn't change much of anything.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep.
Agree.
And that is why you guys always see me on Technomancer like 80% of my stream as well, because I know you guys want to get your gear, and I personally hate waiting to get my gear. So I like to go as fast as possible on those for you guys as well, because
Well, isn't it a
it's
other
just
factor that the faster you go, the more people you'll be able to run through? That's something else
exactly.
that
I brought up
people
that
also
point yesterday. I was like, I
yeah,
wonder how many I actually went through today. I think today when I do some later tonight, I'm just gonna keep a manual count and then just tally it up at the end of the day to see how many I
right.
went through. Because I stopped doing the spreadsheets. I mean, I guess I could bring it
Mm.
back, but I don't want to. It's not happening. But
And I would even challenge some people to say, hey, you know what? Take a look at this, right? Take a look, like see, like, and I'm not saying like make it a challenge or like, hey, this person's better than. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying let's look at the efficiency and the effectiveness, right? If I have a streamer that streams for let's say 6 hours and he gets 20 people through expeditions, now that would be more viable for people to say, hey, you know what? I'll be able to get a chance. But now you have another streamer that streams for 6 hours, right? But he only gets 10 people through, right? And now it's like now you could take a look and see like, oh, now we know what they mean about builds, or now we know why they run through this. Now we know because you're able to get more gear at the amount of or the allotted time that you have to play the game. Because some people have lives, you have work, you have family. This is not a priority, but when you do play, you want to have a good time and you want to get the things that you need, right? So then now you can kind of evaluate that. And you can say, oh, that's why I run it that way. So if I'm only going to play for 2 hours, I can run Coliseum 10 times and have more opportunity to get what I need vice 5 times. And now I'm kind of, you know what I mean? My percentages are cut down in half. So that's definitely something a way to look at, in my
but
opinion.
yeah, Dude with a Blunt hit it on the nail. Removing the timers, amazing for the game, amazing for the health of the game. Brought a lot of players back.
Absolutely.
Positive reinforcement. No one can look at removing timers as a negative thing.
Well,
I think.
Boz did mention in chat that they reduced the drop pod resources, but you could argue that that was more of a balance change towards
Yeah.
Tiago, right? Because now that Tiago is so valuable, they made
Mm,
drop pod resources more scarce. So that could be completely unrelated to the timer, ultimately.
mm. Dude with a blunt is such
Which
a smart individual.
I know, and which segues really to the next section we have is the New Horizon update did bring some nifty oversights into the game, but ultimately I don't think it's like super game breaking in any way. I think it's just a different game mechanic.
Okay, so
And
before we move on, I want to say I'm not stating that it's negative about the timer change, but saying that like the aspect of the way it's being twisted amidst the community,
yeah,
I think that's a flaw. But I personally think the timer change is great.
No,
It
I do agree with Maff there about, a lot of the, yeah, I understand exactly what Maff's saying, we discussed it a bit earlier, but the removal of the timers definitely has brought up some, I suppose, controversial topics in like builds and all of that stuff. And, false and misinformation, and it does happen, and I'm sure it happens with, every games. But no, Maff, you're 100% spot on there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just repeat what I said earlier. Ultimately, it's down to the people. We can't do anything about it.
Can we address that question that Flash Kanoha just asked?
Which
11.
is
Uh, the real question, important question, when are we getting a face reveal from Maffeine? I think that's a good one right there.
That's gonna happen at 1,000 gifted subs. So you want a face reveal? That's 1,000 gifted subs. Head over to my boy Maffeine's channel. Someone give him a shout out. That's 1,000 gifted subs for a face reveal. If the
and be
Flash,
careful or
yeah,
Just
thank you,
I
Capo.
think the Flash deserved that one for that question.
All right, let's segue that into what I was mentioning earlier with the new mechanics, right, for the New Horizon update when it comes to certain oversights, including Tiago here. And we're talking about a way where you can pretty much reroll at Tiago infinitely. You guys can figure out how to do that on your own, but there is a mechanic in the game, and at first, this looks really bad on paper, but Boz had, when he came into my stream, and he said something really, really actually, like, what's the word I'm looking for here? Like, it blew my mind, right? Yes, this oversight is here, but you still need those resources to level up your items to get to max level, and that grind still takes some time. So even with this oversight, I think I look at it as a positive thing, right? Newer players, if they so choose to do so, can get these items and can use these items earlier to help their builds, have more fun playing those early expeditions. Because let me tell you, early expeditions are extremely difficult, extremely difficult. But when you unlock those higher expedition challenge tiers, right, even with this method available, like your current gear, even if you have like your 3-piece set or whatever, it still needs to scale to the difficulty, and you still need these, drastic resources to do that, the titanium, the drop pod resources. So ultimately,
Yeah,
at the
but you
end, I
need
think it balances it
no,
out.
but I mean, there's a
Yes.
obvious argument to your point, Plato.
Yeah, I know
Very
the carries.
obvious
I know,
argument,
I know, I know,
which is
I
the
know.
mods. You can use the mods to push your build to the next level super early and just
And
fly
that.
through the cities. So it's definitely, I agree with Buzz. It is an oversight ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's right. It's just, I feel like even if you have the mods, you still need to take the time to like learn. You're still not gonna like fly through it unless you're like techno, right?
True,
But
true.
yeah. It's still gonna be
If you
based
have
on the
good
plan.
knowledge of the game, right? You can definitely progress pretty easily with
Oh
the
yeah,
right legendary mods.
but
So
but let's also be honest. I don't think the cat like the 90% of the people, even if they unlock those T3 mods, they're still gonna struggle through those expos with the oversight,
true,
right?
true,
Yeah.
true,
So
true.
I think for the casuals, it really doesn't change anything. But for those that did their research, then they will know how to simply, abuse the oversight and just
I
fly through the
mean,
expeditions.
I think the game has a good difficulty to it that even with that, I mean, yes, is it an oversight? Yes, I agree. But I just think the game has a good difficulty to it that even with you
Yeah.
having getting those stuff, it's still gonna take you, some time to get used to it because even like you have to know what you're doing. You know what I mean?
True,
You
true.
100% have to know what you're doing. And even Tiago, even rotating it and getting those gears, let's say even that you're going to use it. I mean, the armor level is like what, like not even God roll. They're like 9,000. So you're still going to grind to get the better version of that gear, right?
Yeah.
So I've been kind of wrestling back and forth about it. Like, yeah, shit, fast way to level up. But then I look at it in a different aspect. Like, you know what though? You still have to learn how to play the game. You still have to know what to do, when to do, and how to do it. Um, so
I just I can just imagine somebody new like doing this and like copying like the perfect endgame build, but at level 35 goes into Boomtown and wonders why they get one shot.
hmm
So yeah, the difficulty in the game is real, guys. You can copy a build cookie cutter, even with using the oversight or whatever, and then you
yeah,
go into an expedition, and if you don't know what you're doing, it doesn't matter if you have God rolled everything. You're still gonna die instantly because the
I
game's difficulty
mean,
is there.
I think Capo brings up a good point there, which is, I mean, the story skip, right? The story
Thanks,
skip
Capo.
hasn't been removed from the game, but because they understand that they're not losing anything from having the story skip, right? Because only people that have played the game, like that don't even want to do the story, are doing this, and you need a friend to do it, right?
hmm
So there's all this knowledge and extra work that you need to do to accomplish these exploits in quotations, right? So ultimately, they probably just don't feel like they're losing anything from it because the only people that benefit would probably not play, like probably would have skipped this content either way.
So Big Daddy, to bring up that point, Boz makes a great comment. He gives a great example. He says, "Here, just look at Plato's last night. He has the same build as Palm, but took him a while to not suck on it." So exactly.
hmm So
But yeah,
yeah,
so like things like story skip or getting every legendary at level 10, I don't think they'll remove it honestly, because yeah, they probably don't feel like they're losing anything from it, which I agree with.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
In the beginning, it was like, "Wow, this looks bad," but when you have time to like get over that initial shock and settle back and collect your thoughts, it doesn't look that. It's really not that bad or unhealthy for the game at all. If anything, it just will probably get more players to come back and then play for it. And players that were just fishing for the mods and stuff to complete their whatever and get their perfect gear and then leave the game, they were probably not going to stick around and, even like try to get good at the game or get better at the game or anything like that. So I mean, I definitely do that with some games too, right? It's just like a casual thing. Oh, I can get the best gear in this game, sure, I'll get it, and then I'll leave. So I definitely understand that aspect too. So anybody that wants to seriously utilize this, it still takes a lot of work to do, but it's just another alternative method that the game does have now.
I mean, to be fair, they did, right? They did fix the Earthborn exploit, right? They
Yep.
forced you to have a fixed firepower roll on it. So I'm not really sure where's their logic there. Why they removed that oversight exploit, whatever you want to call it, but they're leaving things like story skip or Tiago reroll in. So we'll see, because
Well,
maybe they will fix it. That's the thing. Because if they
you
fix
know how
Earthborn, why wouldn't they fix Tiago? Because you can do the same thing with Tiago now. You can get a perfect God roll, Infinite Inferno Seed, Dead Shield, right? And it's the same thing. You're bypassing the farming aspect of the game. So maybe in the end they might fix it. Like, right? We don't know what they're doing.
I think it just goes down to what they're currently working on is World Slayer. So they want to put all their resources in this DLC, and if people want to do this right now in the interim, they can, and then they'll probably look into it, patching it at some point. But it kind of brings me to the Diablo aspect just a little bit to go off tangent, because this game, says it's inspired by Diablo. Diablo has some of these quirks as well too, right? You can do story skips in Diablo. You know what I mean, Big Daddy? The G rushes and certain mechanics like that, I think are nice. But you're spot on. At some point, this does need to get addressed and patched, because
Well, no,
if,
no, I'm not saying it needs to. I'm saying, judging on their track record, right? The fact that they touched the exploit on the Earthborn Renegade tells me
Okay.
that this exploit being available is not set in stone. Just judging on their
yeah.
track record.
I mean, we can also bring up the other the mods and the attribute stuff as well. That also, like, where do they draw the line there, kind of thing. Um, if because the Earthborn Renegade, it's a great point you bring up, was literally the same thing, is all as the existing stuff that is still there. So yeah, where do they draw the line? That's a really good point. Seriously, Big Daddy is like 500 IQ, man.
Man, the dude, the way he just, man.
Big
Jeez.
Daddy, the homie, the real carry of the podcast.
Mhm.
Maffeine, you did put on
I'm trying to stay
stops.
humble.
Do you also bring up unlocked vendors here, Maffeine? Did we want to brush on that as well? Because I know, Big Daddy, you were experimenting with that a little bit yesterday. I don't know if you want to touch up on it, brush up on it,
But
or
you guys,
promote your video on it.
I know you guys were like talking about that yesterday, so I wasn't sure.
Elaborate a little bit more on that. What do we mean unlock vendors?
Oh, I mean, this is just like a way to get items with one attribute on them, but it's not really, this has been in the game since the start.
Okay,
Okay.
bad. Yeah, if you guys want to more know about that, just check out our YouTube channels. Dude with the Blunt on YouTube, and then Play-Doh Bear on YouTube as well. So we'll just leave it at that for that. And if you guys are more curious and you want to do it yourselves, you definitely can. But let's move on to the bulk of, I believe, where we'll spend our time here. And this is going to be the balance changes. Well, maybe not a bulk. But this New Horizon patch brought up, a few balance changes, mostly due to Fortress and Moaning Winds rework. A complete rework for Fortress and a rework for Moaning Winds in a way where it's on a global cooldown now, where it cannot be spammed on weapon 1s, 2, and 3. To compensate, they did give a little bit of a damage buff, but aside from that, they made some buffs to certain legendary sets, certain other mods. But how do we all feel about the balance change? I know the community is pretty, I wouldn't say up in arms, but Big Daddy was saying, or Doodle1 earlier was saying, the balance changes needed to be more. And I do agree that they should have done more with the balance changes here, because nothing in terms of the balance spectrum has really changed as a core, right? If anything, it hurt the game in terms of balance. I would say then it improved it, unless you're Trickster, and we'll get to that a little bit later.
Well, I think just starting for an overall balance that happened. I think that they didn't change enough, right? Like, ultimately they made Trespasser good on Trickster, which is great, but it's the same build people were using before, right? It's just you slap a legendary set on top of it now. Same build as before. They fixed Borealis, great. Same thing. You slap a legendary set on top of a working build, so they're not really changing anything on Techno or Trickster. And on Pyro and Devastator, I mean, ultimately, I think the idea of removing Morning Winds and changing Fortress, like the intention is right, is good, but I feel like they're afraid to give the power back to these classes, and I think they should do more because I do enjoy, right, like getting range from Shadow Comet and Claymore Torrent, right? You add more range to an AP build, an ability to kill stragglers. They definitely added good intentions and a good idea with this change overall. I just feel like they should push AP builds, just a bit more, a little push.
Buff
And I do want
Anomaly. Buff
I do
Anomaly.
I do want Palm's input here, at least for the Pyro section, because Palm has been grinding Pyro since the New Horizon update, like no other, seeing what works, what doesn't. And he definitely felt the balance changes pre-Pyro versus current Pyro. So, Palm, if you want to go off on a tangent here on Pyro and educate some newcomers in the chat, or just, your thoughts on the whole balance change. My man.
Well, my biggest issue with it, I mean, it's just the damage that I used to do was so noticeable. It's like solo speedrunning, like there's enemies that I know that if I get a certain amount of stacks, I'll kill them. But now when I go about it, enemies are now like one shot, like just that minuscule amount of one shot now, like and it's just like you notice the damage you lost, like it's super noticeable. Like I mean, I don't mind the 6 rotating weapon mods. It's cumbersome, but I don't mind it. It's just the AP builds. I don't really understand their place in this game at this point. Because Techno's been as strong as it's been since day one. I mean, it got that nerf, but the nerf was barely noticeable. AP build's been nerfed multiple times for no reason really, where Blighted Rounds is still as strong as it is. So I really don't understand like where they're going with that part of the game for AP builds. And Devastator is just a shot. Like I was doing some solo dev yesterday, and it's like you would toss your earthquakes and make enemies bleed, and it would just not kill anything. So like literally, the entire build of dev is just completely useless because you bleed doesn't kill anything now. So you're just wondering like what do you do in dev now because you don't kill anything on there. And I can also elaborate on trio pyro. And again, pyro, I literally can't clear any more in trios with pyro, unless like you go through the world's end to make it clear. It's just a useless build almost, kind of, because you don't do anything.
Well, look, I mean, let's be realistic, right? You're speaking of the Ash Blast build, which kills everything instantly. So
Well, yeah,
we need to keep it keep it
yeah, true,
reasonable. But
true, true,
the
true.
overall argument is that AP abilities, right? Skills lack value compared to weapon
Yeah.
mods, and we're really seeing this right now with the nerf of Morning Winds. Like the nerf is very noticeable, and it just highlights the fact that the actual abilities that AP builds use most of the times are lackluster and don't really do much of anything. And it's really just
Mhm.
kind of sad because like
Yeah.
really Pyro Ash Blast Overeat is like the outlier, one of the only AP builds in the game that performs at a high level because it's kind of broken. Let's be real.
Yeah.
But every other AP build, right? If Ash Blast Overeat fails the nerf, imagine every other AP build. So I really think that
That's a really good point.
they need to offset some of this weapon mod focus gameplay and put more damage on the skills, more damage on the armor mods, just make the build stronger, and then you don't need to worry so much about the weapon mods balance.
I,
Yeah.
I, I would
Because
say
I
I
think a
was
lot of people don't realize that, like, when you look at like a lot of the fire prob mods in the spread to AP mods, I think there's like 3 mods in the game total that actually give you AP for. I think you got Anomaly Echo that gives you barely an AP. Then you got Power Simulation, and then there's a Stand Tall, and that's like
no.
that's literally like the Stand
You have
Tall. Yeah, I think that's it.
arms
I
and
didn't.
anomaly, something like that.
I mean, but you gotta land. I'm talking about like mods. I'm talking about like AP modes that you just get for just like playing the game. With like on the
Mm,
AP, you're not rebel
mm.
land equipped like this. AP, you about playing the game. It's like 3 total mods. Like I won't count Phoenix Force because it's a pirate mod, but you also got that. But like comparing Anomaly Echo gives you 11k AP compared to Bloodlust, it gives you I think 50 something KAP. I'm not sure
Yeah, like
how much it gives
50.
you, but like you see the difference between a tier 2 mod and tier 3 mod. The AP that you get from Anomaly Echo is so small, and also even then, just getting that 11k AP barely increases your damage because it's the way AP scales. It doesn't really increase your damage by it. Like you have to add so much AP to get like a true
Mm.
massive damage increase. So like just having any flat damage mod would just be automatically better than any AP mod you could add really because the way AP scales in this game.
So I would say this, and this is something definitely that I was looking at. Running Devastator this week, um his AP build. You're gonna have players, right? Because I see them, right? They obviously they come by the stream and they're like, oh no, man, I do work with my Devastator. Oh, I'm able to do this, or I've seen people do this, or do whatever the case may be, right? But are you really looking at the mod? Are you really assessing the situation correctly? So these are some of the things that I definitely take a look at, right? I Fortress went from 43% to 30%, right? So that's just what it is. You take 3 shots, you'll have 30% more damage for however many seconds, right? 5, 10 seconds. If I don't remember off the top of my head, right?
10
Yes,
seconds.
yeah, 10 seconds. Okay. So I would say this, right? You still have 13% that's out there. We don't know where it is, right? We don't know where's that 13%. You didn't fully compensate. I get it. You've increased the nodes by 4%. 4 times 5 is now you gave us 20% more anomaly power in the bottom tree portion. That's not enough. Okay. I still think they need to add 2% to each, right? So in total, you'll get an increase of 10% more anomaly power, bottom tree, right? So go from 10 to 12 each node, right? So now you have 10%. Okay. And now hopefully you can do something now. But then take these mods and Palm, you brought it to my attention the other day, and I've been looking at it. A tier 3 anomaly power mod, it looks like it's a tier 1 with the amount of damage that it's giving you, right? Because we have tier 2 mod um that does that gives you more damage than a tier 3 mod, right? So why don't we take those mods, and I don't like you buff it. I don't mean buff it by like 1,000. You know, give it 5k more anomaly power. Give it or double it. I don't know. Just an idea is these mods need to be within that tier 3 status, right? Because Dude with a Blunt brought this also up to me, that you cannot compare a damage of what a firepower build does compared to what Anomaly build does, right? Someone over at PCF has a hard on for firepower builds that they love so much
I've been saying
that
this, and whoever you are, my man, I am
yeah,
a fan. Keep
yeah,
buffing firepower, brother. I need more damage on my techno.
you know what I mean? They have, you know what I'm saying? It's insane, right? That you can do so much damage by shooting your gun, but using your skills, it's like, eh, right? You're nowhere near what a firepower build is in these classes. So I would say this, right? Do some stuff like that, right? Look at it. Find that word that Dude with a Blunt always uses. Balance. It's not balanced right now. So we need to find that balance. And I know Boz is one of those people, and I see him in the chat. They can't do that. We'll break Pyro. Well, then you got to balance Pyro, because what they have to take into example is Technomancer. Whoever did Technomancer, whoever created that class, he's a like great job, amazing job. But that dude got to be the most selfish individual in the whole world because of the synergy that Technomancer has within himself in his
A great point
tree.
to plug my new techno video as well, guys. If there we go.
There it is, right? The the synergy in his tree, in his mods, and what that class can do or is supposed to do. It is insane, right? No other class has that synergy that Technomancer has. So why can we not do the same thing? Okay? Why can we not do the same thing. We are afraid of the power creep, so we can't do that. He's told me the same thing, but you
Same.
cannot be afraid of, right? Exactly. You can't be afraid of the power creep.
Trespasser. No,
Yeah,
trespasser. Speak of
exactly.
trespasser.
I'm
You
I'm
can't.
going
Fucking
to it. Hold on,
trespasser
hold
and
on,
power
hold.
creep. No, 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 no,
No,
no.
no, no, no.
I'm speaking right now, okay?
You can't. You
Fuck you
can't.
mean power creep and trespasser, okay?
Yeah,
Trespasser is power creep, making a
like
strong build stronger. Like what?
exactly. You
Yeah.
can't. You can't.
And
Especially you
look at
give him
Techno. Look at
Technomancer. Yeah,
Techno.
you give him Borealis when he is already doing insane damage, just
And it's
regularly.
stacked. Borealis stacks.
Exactly.
Yeah, I gotta say
Exactly.
the power creep statement
Look, the
is
power creep. Listen, the
Yeah.
power creep statement is so what's the word? I'm disconnected. I do not
Yes.
understand.
You
Speaking of
cannot
trespassers, can
say
I go
that.
on a quick trespassers tangent? Literally,
R-
what made tricksters better is what Big Daddy or Dude with a Blunt just said. They made the best firepower build better by adding more damage. Why couldn't they have just done that to every other set they changed? Because literally
Exactly.
the change they made to trespassers made the already best trickster build even better because of the damage. They
Mhm.
really made a trickster Borealis for the trickster. So they need to do that for every class. I mean, Pyro has it with Akari. You know what I mean? But they need to do it to like AP Techno as well. They need to do it
Right.
to other AP Pyro builds that doesn't focus on Ash Blast overheat, and
I mean, it's
Devastator, etc.,
crazy.
etc.
Yeah.
Every legendary set should be that good. So that's really like
Exactly.
a major
I,
Yeah.
point to make, which is that
I want to hit.
the amount of legendary sets that don't multiply your damage and are basically worthless is just kind of crazy.
Yeah. I would hit. I would hit 2 points on this one, right? I would hit 2 points. Like one, like the power creep. Like let's get away from that, right? One, let's look at this. Okay. Um, Technomancer. Okay, people would say, oh, he only has two viable builds, like Major Tool just said. All right. He only has two viable builds. Technomancer has two viable builds because he's doing what he's meant to do, right? When they introduced Technomancers way before the game release, what did they say? He is a long range shooter. This is the guy, right? And he's legitimately doing what he's meant to do. Why can't you give it to everyone else? Why
And
can't you
also,
give
just
it
to
to all
touch
the other
on
classes?
the viable part, I mean, the term viable is a little loose too, right? To
Right?
say like two viable builds, like you can say Devastator has 10 viable builds, but I would take the two viable builds from a Technomancer than the 10 viable builds from the Devastator. The same could be said about Trickster too, right? Has literally, well, let's say one viable build, but in my opinion, but it also has variations of that build that make it still extremely strong. If you want to use Venator's Knife, you can, right?
Exactly. Thank you.
Versus, but the viable term is dependent on you as a player, I suppose. When I think of a viable build, I think it's supposed to just crush through the content, with not like extreme ease, but you can still feel like that power fantasy dude with the blunt always brings up. You can't
Hmm.
call a build viable if you're doing like the Infinite Reaper. Okay, that is a great example. The Infinite Reaper, PCF would call it a viable build. And you could say, damn,
Yep.
that's 11 builds for Devastators now. But in my eyes, I would say that's not a viable build because let's be honest, it's just bad.
Like at the end of the day, okay. At the end of the day, what is this game? It's a looter shooter. What wins in this game? Damage, right? So at the end of the day, you have to do damage in order to accomplish the mission. That's number one. And number two, why are you not using the strong suit of the game? People enjoy this game because they enjoy the fact that they don't have to shoot to kill things. They enjoy like the I think the number one aspect of this game is the AP. People love AP builds. Like that's what they love. So why not treat it or give it that good push? People enjoy that shit. Look at all these crazy builds that you see on YouTube that people are like, listen, I was able to complete this. At the end of the day, in this game with no timer, what constitutes a viable build? What constitutes a viable build is if you can complete an expedition. If you can complete an expedition, it's a viable build. Point blank and simple. Because we don't have no more timers. So just give me the damage, let me have fun. We're having fun, and let's use what makes this game great. Buff AP. piece. If you got a balanced pyro and say, okay, oh shit, Ash Blast, that shit is crazy, well then rework it. I don't know what to tell you. But the strong suit of this game is the fact that you can kill shit without shooting. People enjoy it. People love it. So just give it to us. You have two classes right now that are insane. Trickster that has that Play-Doh thing that he put out, him, Daddy Nick, or whatever the case may be, and you have Techno. Pyro, Ash Blast, whatever the case may be. Give Devastator some love, okay? Just give him that love. You're not gonna fucking
Not only Devastators, we can't just tunnel vision on Devastators.
right,
I
right, right,
want AP
right. But
Technos to get some love, okay? I want my
exactly.
rocket. Listen, I want my rockets to do something. My
I wanna
rockets do negative damage.
I
I've
want
messed
to
with
run
that
around with
set.
the
Orders
Gatling gun.
Oh
defend
I
it.
want to run
man,
around. I want to run around with the Gatling gun and act like I'm fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger in Terminator 2.
but it does
Like
negative damage.
exactly. Let me enjoy the game. Right? Don't make it to where now I can one shot Yaguk or whatever his name is. Don't make it to where when I see the Shama, I just look at him and he dies. I get it. Gonna use fucking do with a blunt favorite word, balance. But bro, stop it. Like you can't say power creep when Techno's been a power creep since the day he released. He dropped. You know what I'm saying? You nerfed Trickster and now you brought him back. No, man, just give me the AP damage. Just give me what I want so that way I tell you this much, Boz. I'm willing to bet right now and anyone else in the chat or in the Discord that if they buff these APs, oh my god. Do you know how many people are just gonna go crazy? Are gonna love it? They're just gonna come back to the game and just be like, ha, fuck you, Techno. I don't gotta use you. I don't need you in my team. Right? I could go do this. I could run whatever the fuck I want. But it has to happen, bro. Like, and one last thing, the double carry thing, it only works for a motherfucker that knows what he's doing with Techno. I'm gonna be completely honest with you, because when I first switched over to Techno, I tried to double carry with Techno, and I was like, oh look, Plato's running this. Let me just put it together. And yeah, it wasn't going well for me.
But
You know
yeah,
what I'm
we
saying?
can all agree. I mean, even mediocre, who is a diehard Devastator player, we can all agree Devastators need love. In both AP and FP, to be honest,
And
Devastator needs love in every category for
exactly.
to be up on par to like even Akari Pyro level. Because if Devastators
Mm-hmm.
can just be able, like ice. Okay, so mediocre. I was looking at this firepower build on Devastator, right, where you can stack up those crazy anomaly damage by doing like the boulder dash rotations with the fortress and the mod for boulder dash. I forgot what it's called. Sorry, I apologize, but it's the one that like gives you something armor for about 7 seconds, like doubles your armor or X amount of armor with, and then with this earthquake stacking, and that looks. It's still a shit. I know, but it looked like when I saw some of the gameplay, I was like, damn, I am seeing those 700k to 1 million shots, right?
By
But the
bug
setup
abusing.
process, look, yeah, it's bug
They
abusing.
will,
I know,
they will fix it.
I,
They,
they
like
will
they
fix
fixed
it. I know,
armor
I
of
know, I know.
Eons. They
Yeah,
fixed armor of Eons.
yeah.
So the
Look,
the armor stacking, FP stacking build is gonna be fixed. So you can
I
just
was
stop
getting to that bit
playing
there.
it already.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
give up on it. It's gone.
yeah. But that's what I'm saying. It's like it takes bug abusing to get Devastators to feel good. I want to be able to do that amount of damage with the Devastator firepower build without having to bug abuse and do this convoluted combination to deal that damage, right? Um, but that's my thought on like firepower Devastators.
I
Eh,
was told this about Devastator to my face. Not only like I'm always say this to my face during a Q&A by three of the senior developers of People Can Fly, and Toby asked a question, and his my question was, are we looking to buffing AP bills, i.e., an example as to Devastator, who really, really, really is gonna need some help after the change to Fortress, right? Toby legitimately said to them, "Hey, Capo is doing this. I've been in his stream so many times, and the community. This is what they want. What do you guys think? We're not gonna touch Devastator. We're not gonna touch it. We're gonna see how the changes work out, and then we're gonna go from there." So I'm taking it a mission as to run Devastator, try to do as many different builds as I can, and say, hey, you know what? This guy is not working. And I get it. You put this new build out, but you were fighting level 35 enemies. Okay.
Oh yeah, I didn't
I
even
got
mention
level,
that, but that's
you
sure
know what I'm
straight
saying?
up.
I got to deal with level 50s. Okay. You take that build that you just put out there, and this is not shot PCF. You know I love you, Square Enix. Don't beat me up. Don't kick me out the program. But you take that build, go take it to City of Nomads, go do the Easter egg, and then go fight that boss at the end with that same build, and then come back to me and let me know, hey, everything went great, because it's not. It's 100%. It's absolutely not. So I'm taking it and I'm making it a mission to say, hey, you know what? Look at all the different builds that I've done with Devastator. Look at it. And I can't do anything. There's nothing I can do. And I'm not trying to sit in an expedition for 40 minutes or 30 minutes, or, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to do that. So, it, you know, it needs to be buffed. He needs to bad.
Yeah. I don't. I think everybody saw the build showcase they did with. And if you haven't, you can just check out Outriders Twitter. But they did a developer showcase where the developers made a build for the community, and a buddy in the chat, Mediocre, actually tested that build out and got it. I think like, and he's cracked on dev, right? He got about a 10-minute Boomtown run with that build. Now, if they still had timers in this game when they released this build, that would be a bronze. And they were citing things in their promo video like this build does insane AoE damage, you know, it does amazing damage, and they're in a CT1 fighting level 30 characters with like fully, you know, with this fully optimized build, and it's still taking time to kill these mobs with Perforos. But this also comes back to the point Maffeine put earlier where, you know, there's being content created about builds that are misleading, and I mean, PCF just did that right there 100%. They just, you know, they just misled their entire like following on Twitter, etc. I mean, they got flack for it for sure, right? But some people probably saw that, tried it out, and is probably thinking it's an amazing build and don't even know any better. So, I know we got off on a tangent, but for the balance changes, we really got off on a tangent, but that's okay. It usually happens. The balance changes needs to be looked into, and I hope we get some sort of balance change. And I know Dude with a Blunt wants this too before World Slayer. Before World Slayer, we can see a little bit of balance change. If you're not going to give us new content, giving us balance changes is kind of giving us new content, and it just takes a little bit of number tweaking. We know they can do this in less than a day's amount of time because that is what they did at launch. So if they're going to take some time to do some number crunching, maybe take like, you know, a month or a few weeks, that's fine. But I would argue waiting another 4 to 5 months without balance changes is gonna start feeling stale because, you know, that's almost a year where firepower has dominated, and certain builds for certain classes for firepowers have no use, and vice versa. There's certain AP builds for certain classes, and for all, you know, that just doesn't work. That hasn't been looked into for so long. And if they do happen to add a new class with World Slayer, you know, then that's just going to be a little bit of like a distraction towards what still ultimately needs to be done, which is still balance. I mean, so I don't want people to get all flashy.
You want to speak about power creep? Introducing a new class is the perfect way to introduce power creep into a game.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee that shit'll be broken on release.
Oh yeah.
Perp, I get it. You did a 6-minute 2-player carry on your dev, and you did 200 million, but you have to have done 200 million damage to get through Boomtown. So, you know, I'm not knocking you, but you had to have done it. Like,
Boomtown is also a really good outlier for dev perp because it is literally like a map made for devastators if you're in a certain way. Like there's certain maps made for certain characters, and Boomtown is one of like if you're going AP Devastator, it's one of the best maps for AP Devastator. But I would argue you try to do that on Wellspring, and I mean 2 hard carries, like they're both level 1 on Wellspring, and I guarantee you it's going to be a struggle.
Exactly.
I have done that, and I do not recommend doing that. Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that your carries, like they probably were at level or near level, and they have to have done some type of work, right, in order for you, you know, to really get some stuff done.
I would agree with you, Mediocre. Maybe Camp Planting.
So you know what I mean? You know, it's just one of those things, where I'm just like
I mean,
at
also, I'm
this
pretty
point,
sure.
man,
No, no,
buff
no,
it.
no, no, wait, let me let me just point out. I'm pretty sure Perp is running Bleed Dev, right? Perp, like he's running a meta build on Devastator. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I would assume so. Yeah, yeah. So the other guy, there you go. The guy that did like 100 mil definitely helped out, especially in
Yeah,
Boomtown.
yeah, yeah. Yes, the only build. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, perp. That's what like that's what we mean by like you can still output damage as devastators and carries, but you can really see the difference in like the damage output and just like the ease of playing the class when you do get those like extra when people can literally output 0 damage, right? Like you can bring a techno into Boomtown and you can just have the 2 people being AFK and you'll finish the map in like less than 5 minutes, just because of the raw damage output. But I mean, I'm just repeating myself here now, but man, the AP builds and just every build needs to be at least a little bit viable, right? And so far, that's really just not the case. And just using power creep as an excuse is, at this point, just mildly triggering, extremely triggering.
No, but I mean, let's be real. Like, I don't at this point. I really don't get like what they're afraid of, because we've been waiting for a while for these
Yeah.
balance changes, and I've been asking for them for a while as well. But I mean,
Would it be
they,
so
they
wrong
they
that they
put
pressed go?
They put Trespasser in the game. They leave Borealis as is,
Yeah.
stacking and all that,
Yeah.
all
Look,
those shenanigans. I just feel like they, you know, it's time to do something.
look, just do
It's
it.
time to press the button. Like,
Yeah.
really, it's
You're,
been time.
you
It's even more the time now.
yeah, you're gonna increase the level come the expedition, hopefully. And if you're gonna increase it, just give it. That's it. Here you go. Hey, have fun until World Slayers drop. Like just press, like just like you said, just press the button. You're gonna increase the levels. You're gonna introduce new gear. Y- We're gonna need it. We have more mobs. We have more elites. Things are gonna get a lot more exciting and chaotic. So just push the button, give it to us, and say, "Hey, guys, have at it." You know what I mean?
There's
Like,
literally no downside to pressing the go button and
yep.
buffing these builds because
Yeah.
that's gonna bring more people back, right? You
Oh
you
my
go you
god.
go right now and you just start buffing devastators like just tree damage or skill tree damage or just upping the numbers on like some anomaly T3 mods, for instance. Maybe that's all you'll need to do. Just try it for a month. Heck, try
Yeah.
it for a few weeks. If you don't like it, tone it down a bit or increase it.
Yeah.
I don't see the harm because but then it would become a bit more live servicey, I guess. But they're doing it. They're doing it anyway. So why not just do it, right?
Yeah.
Like
Man.
you're doing it anyway, so just do it.
Oh, boss, don't get me started on
And
that
if
one.
if they feel like they buff something too much, right? Nerf it the next week. It's literally
Yeah.
that
Okay,
simple. That simple.
so Palm and do with a blind. I got a question. Would it be a bad thing to just take a Kari and say, "Hey, all right, listen, if we buff all these anomaly, whatever the case may be, would it be a bad thing that you kind of nerf Akari? Because nerf is the exact word. Instead of it giving you 50%, yeah, you say 45 or 40. Because I haven't seen, maybe I haven't paid attention, but I haven't seen another set besides Akari and Borealis that legitimately gives you that much extra damage. Would it be a bad thing for you to just go that route and that way?
Well, I think
Uh,
They
you shouldn't nerf a
they
calorie
should
until
nerf
you
it.
know it's a problem,
right.
right? Like,
Okay.
because I mean that's really what I'm preaching here is like, who cares ultimately what the players think? Because as long as they like, it's what the experience that matters. And I feel like they just buff AP, like all across the slate, just buff AP. And if they feel like Akari is really just outperforming too hard, nerf it down afterwards. Like, they don't need to be proactive. They don't need to be like proactive. They can be reactive. And I don't
Hmm.
Because Big
get
Daddy,
what
I
they're
can see.
afraid to
Sorry.
be.
Yeah, I think what they're afraid is, oh no, if we buff AP, Akari is just gonna be so popular. Mofuckers, it's the strongest build right now, and it's not even the most popular build on Pyro. Let me be honest with you, right?
No. It's not.
It's really not. Ash Blast Overheat is not a popular build on Pyro at all. So just buff AP because people won't play the build anyways. You know, they'll run their phaser, their eruption, their double debuffs, and all of that stuff. Like honestly, just make other builds come to or close to Akari's level, and people won't even care about Akari because other stuff is viable. And then if they really want to feel like a god and want to clear the whole map, then they'll play Akari. Like I don't see the issue. Sorry, Pom, go ahead.
Yeah.
Talked for you there, my bad.
And the one thing I will say that if they do nerf Akari, the boss tail they do have to be big because you have to think about it. Akari it gives you 300% extra AP to your 12. So like the more AP you add, the more of a benefit you get from Akari. So like going from 50% to 20%, that will literally just kill the overheat Ather build. No matter how much of a buff you can give AP mods, it will legit kill the build for Ather overheat. Like and like even though it's a thing, I feel like if you ever had a chance to ever look at the Pyro tool for Pyromancer, it's probably the best thing that was
Do
made
you have
for
a link
Pyro
for
because
it?
you literally get
I'll
to
post it right
see.
now.
Yeah, I have a link for it. It's the Pyro.
I'll make a
It's
command
the best
for it.
thing. Yeah, it's like literally you can
Thank you.
go in and you can check and see how all the skills work, how all the AP works, and you literally get a good example of it. It shows everything from Pyro. I think it's probably one of the best things that's made for a class because you get to really see the inner workings of how AP scales and everything. Is a great thing in the game.
That link
And
gives you access denied.
oh,
That
I think
yeah.
I gotta. I'll get you the one later, Peter, because I gotta get that other link.
Okay, give me one later. Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't think he's saying 25%. I just think he like gave an example, just like dude with the
Yeah.
blunt said. Just you buff it. If you gotta tweak it, okay. Hey, we can't give Akari 50%, right? Because whatever the case may be, here's 40%. You know what I mean? You can tweak that. You can work.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, and I feel like they should be reactive more because,
yeah.
like, let the player base show you what's the balance, right?
Yes.
Instead of trying to divine it. I feel like that's really something they're missing out on. Is they keep acting like they know how to make the balance work instead of just
They don't
like
need. They don't know how to play
getting
their
the
own game, Big
feedback.
Daddy.
Well, yeah, but that's kind of my point. That's kind of my point. It's like
I know.
they should use like the communities, the way people play the game, and use that to say, well, maybe we should address these points on the balance. You know?
Right. And then you go from there, and then you say, you know what I mean? Because I truly I don't think okay, this is would be the negative reaction. The change that you made to Trickster out of nowhere, you just made this change to Trickster, and everyone was pissed off, right? Because it wasn't good anymore. You just went ahead and just made this change. But if you would have allowed it, take a look at it and say, okay, damn, we're not gonna cut it in half. We're just gonna take a little bit. You know what I mean? We're gonna take a little bit, and then here you go. You can still do damage, but you know what I mean? Because just give it to us, man. Just push the button, bro.
Well, yeah. I mean, let's be real, because they do these buffs, and ultimately they're kind of inconsequential. Because I mean, they are afraid to push the big buttons. Like, let's just be real
Yeah.
with it. Like the big buttons that will
Thank you, Palm.
actually change the meta massively, they're just not even looking at them, and it's
Yeah. And at the end of the day, I feel like if Techno you're gonna leave Techno alone, you're gonna leave him the way he is, and now Trickster, the way he is, you're not afraid then. You're not afraid because look at those two classes of what they're able to do. You know what I'm saying? With those kind of builds that you could put together with them. So you're not afraid, right? I can understand if they would have nerfed those guys and said, hey, then I could be like, oh, yeah, they are afraid of power creep or whatever the case may be. But I don't know. I think that Anomaly is the strong point of this game. It's the number one reason, or maybe not, but top reason why people play this game. Right? You look at Division. When people play their skill builds on Division, people love it. Me and Palm had this conversation. They like putting their turrets, their little drones, their all that craziness, the little sticky bombs. They love that shit. People here love putting things on fire, crushing things, bleeding things. Just give it to them, bro. Give it to them. You're
True, true.
gonna.
Another thing I'm gonna say to that is that in division, like when you put on your see like you like scales at base feel strong, but like putting on like that green set bonus
Yep.
is takes the skill just a whole nother level. That's what legendary sets however they do. Like they need to really take skills to another level. I forgot the name of the set was. I think it was Serious Protocol, the Bleed Fire build. You put that on and you could literally just melt bosses just by bleeding and fire them. Like you would just nuke bosses, and it was like a pyro. Honestly, you would just catch a fire and everything. You would kill everything. But like in Outriders, so many legendary sets barely give, like they give small percentage buffs towards your skills. Like for example, I'm looking at Seismic Commander set, 50% bonus to bleed damage. I mean, like 50% sounds like a lot, but when you actually play the game with it, your bleed doesn't really kill anything. It wouldn't hurt to crank it up to like 70%. That wouldn't hurt that much because it's a 20% extra buff, and it would actually kill stuff. It's just like these numbers that the set bonus gives are just so low, and like if you look at Akari or
Meanwhile,
Borealis, you
Borealis
get
90.
90% extra, and it stacks. It's crazy. I mean, it's also think about Death Sentence is literally a mod that gives you 40% damage and 35% AP damage, and it's a literal mod where like where it's doing as much damage as an entire set bonus. It's damage equivalent to the same with a car. You get 300% extra AP. So
Wait,
like I
Palm,
feel like
hold on. Sorry to cut you off. The pyro tool here, is this already, did you have values already adjusted here? Or
no, this is I didn't. Well, the only value that you need to adjust is the Archmage one, and you can click on that, and you can change the 0.6 to 0.1, and it'll be updated. And that's
okay,
about
I'll
it.
make sure. Okay, bet. Thank you. Sorry, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, I feel like the bonuses you get from some of these sets in this game are really just questionable, like why they're so low, and like
Hey,
really just increasing those values and stuff
Pa-
is valuable.
Palm, what would it take you to do something like this for a Devastator? I think this would be so like this would be something that I can legitimately like just take
Oh
if you
no,
want to
Palm
like
Palm
work on
didn't
it
Palm
together.
didn't make it. It was made by
Oh, I
another
Oh,
didn't make
user.
this. So this was
Yeah.
made by the
It's also
OG.
outdated.
Yeah, this was made by I like the spreadsheet I have is kind of really updated because like I went into like click change number, but this was made by RG Flight and like Fight Elements, like one of the OG Pyro dudes. You know, most people don't remember him, and you got RG. He's on speedrun.com, and I'm not sure what a Miller like to, but these like OG Pyro dudes from like the beginning of the game.
yeah, because if I look at this, this can definitely like this 100%. You put this for a Devastator and you kind of break it down, and you can hey listen if even if I run this, look at this, and now you compare it to everything else.
Yeah, cause literally like it shows you all the AP model. You literally can see what the
Yep.
model is actually doing to your damage without you have to.
Mm-hmm.
You can just see it's like it's such a helpful tool. It's
Mm-hmm.
you know,
For all the it's called the DPS analyzer. Perfect, boss. Perfect, man. If I could get a sneak peek to it, right? So that way I can be like, hey man, this is why Devastator needs some work. Um, like it's just I don't know. It would reinforce why AP builds need a buff, and then you can compare it to FP builds. Like, yo, can't compare. Can't stand next to it.
I mean,
You
also
can.
let's be clear on something, right? Balance is super easy. Like it's a joke, actually. You go into game, change a number, damn, done. Balance is over. Like, let's not act like this is probably the easiest path to making people try different things in the game. Like, so I just don't understand why they're not doing it.
It's
That's
just
really just
changing the
them.
number in the code, right? If I'm not mistaken, for
yeah.
you
I
coders,
mean,
Boz. I know
most
Flash is
most
in here.
balance. I mean, there's gonna be problems for sure and bugs and things. But I just think like really balance is just the easiest, simple path. Like just button to press. Just press it, PCF.
So
It's not that hard.
that's my question, though, right? It's just changing the number to the code, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, it depends on the balance, right? Like if it's just changing a mod to do more damage, then yeah, it's literally just a number change. Like some bugs could be introduced for whatever reason, but yeah.
Oh, that's not how they do it. Okay, Boz. Thank you. All
Well,
right.
yeah, it depends. Like
There's some
there's
stats
bugs,
they have.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Got you. Okay. That's what I assumed. I just assumed that you changed the
But
number
would
to
it be
the
so
code.
bad for them to just release a patch and say we just did it? Like, would it break the game? Like, would it cause
No.
more bugs and issues? Is that what they're worried about? That like they adjust the number, like it just makes it so riflemen just float in the air or something like that. Because then I can see it being like more of a caution thing to do. But then I can also question like why does changing a number do X Y Z? But If it's simple as just changing a number, then I don't see the harm to it, and it gets updated because
That's
they
my
can do
question.
back end updates. They fixed Gravedigger with a back end update, right? The -50. That's actually a good example to use. You know, that's a
Perfect.
great example to use because if you guys didn't know, when New Horizon got updated, one of the mods, which is Gravedigger's Frenzy, actually in the description said it did -% crit damage to an enemy rather than doing positive crit damage to an enemy. So in the game, it physically did -50% crit damage instead of doing 50% more damage, and they fixed this with a back end update. So if they're able to adjust those numbers on the fly without even adding a patch, so that answers my own question, I suppose they can do this and just adjust the numbers and make it so. And Smurf, you were the one who showed me this. I was trying to remember who it was. I couldn't, but yes, Smurf showed me this. He was like, Plato, I'm doing negative damage with a Gravedigger. And Smurf, thank you for showing me this because I made a video. It was unlisted on my YouTube that showed the bug. I sent it over and they fixed it. So if you guys notice these bugs, let me know. I did the same thing with something Palm noticed with some weapon mods. I don't as well, right? So I did. Like, if you guys have any bugs, let me know. If you want to do the testing for me and send me a video, I'll compile it and then I'll send it. But I can be the bug report guy for certain things like that. So just let me know.
Yep.
Because
Boz
if
just
Gravedigger
explained
got
it.
fixed, yeah, some of them are
Boz
servers, some of
did.
them baked into the game. I see. That's why it's hard for me to get an API as well. Okay.
Okay.
Well, I mean, if they can do it with Gravedigger, they can do it with fucking anything. That's what I believe. So, that's my thought on that. Because I logged in and it was like fixed, and I was like, there wasn't an update about it, there wasn't a patch note about it. They just went in, fixed the number, called it good. Nobody was the wiser except for the ones that noticed, right? So
Absolutely.
they have this ability, yeah. Appreciate whatever dude with the blunt saying. Fucking do it. Press the go button. Let's get these buffs going. All right.
And yeah, like I
Sorry.
feel like they're just afraid to make a mistake, and mistakes are okay in my book. But I guess people think different things.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to say, holy shit, this game's broken now. PCF, what are you doing? My Rocket Technomancer is now doing bajillions of damage. I don't think anybody's going to say that, right? And if somebody writes an article saying, the game's broken because PCF buffed these classes too much, no, it's not. It's just people have something else to do now.
Yeah, that would be crazy because people want to run that. People want to run around with the rocket launcher. People want to run around with the pyro doing thermal bomb, eruption. They want to do a boom boom build, okay, where they just blow everything up on the map. That's what they want to do. So let's do it. Like, let people have the fun. The game is gonna get harder when World Slayers drop. So let's do it. Let's not be afraid. Come on, PCF. And if you're gonna kick anybody out of the program, blame Plato. It's his fault.
I mean, you're coughing in my life. Excuse me. All right. Unless you guys have any more last notes on balance changes, because we did go off on a tangent, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, they did show that they're willing to do balance, right, and change things because they put damage on trespassers. So hopefully they keep at it. That's all I'm hoping for. Like they know what they're doing, obviously, because they made trespassers super good. So just keep at it, PCF. Do more like that.
Yeah, like
Oh yeah, I
they
forgot about that.
they put damage on death proof. Before it was only 90% cooldown reduction. Now you get 15% more damage.
I
They
think it
added
was
that.
mentioned before, but like, I think it's the not the forge set, the torture set. I think it increases your bullet size, right? Whatever for
Increases like
volcanic round. Yeah, they
like
could literally.
basically like volcanic rounds as a fire aura around it,
Yeah,
and the set just makes it larger. Literally, there's
yeah,
nothing
they could
else.
change it to where like it does more damage, or
Oh
you
my
get
god,
ammo
thank you.
regen. It's sure that they
Thank you.
can do that.
Yep.
That you
Don't
do
get
that.
don't
I
get me
think
started on
everybody's been
pyro
preaching
You
regen.
do
about
that,
Don't
and
get me
ammo
started
FP
on that.
Pyro is good. So showing that
FP
that can
Pyro literally
change
needs
this
one
that
thing to
much,
make it
like, it could be good.
extremely viable.
Because
Extremely viable. Give me ammo
because
on
having your
burn.
fire roar increase, what is that really doing for FP Pyro? It does really nothing, honestly, because it's just
Nah, man.
it's a useless and it's the entire set is just trash besides the helmet for the mod. So why that's literally a way to make the set good. Make it
Yep.
increase your damage or regen ammo, something along those lines, and You're good to go.
I would be
Yeah,
okay
move
with
the
forcing
plug-in.
to use a set on Pyro for firepower to get ammo regen back as a set
Oh
bonus.
my
I'm okay with that. Just give me a way of getting ammo regen back on this character. Put it in just do what you did with Trespassers. Add it onto that set. Palm, you're a genius. Work for PCF. Big Daddy, go work for
Yeah.
PCF.
Just give me a mod that's similar to Toxic Lead or Trick Up the Sleeve. That's it. That's it. And I mean, I'm gonna put my plug in. I got the FP Pyro build out on my YouTube channel, so go check that out. But
Just
yeah,
link it,
that's
man.
all,
I don't care.
yeah, that's all you need, man. That's all that that class needs. If I can get every time I kill someone that's burning, if I can get my rounds back without having to use feed the flame or without using perpetual mobile, like come on, like we're golden, man. That build would be legit. And then we could talk about the survivability of it later on. That is obviously, you know what I mean. But I'll get survivability off of every kill. So if I'm getting my rounds back, then I don't ever have to worry about it, right?
Yeah.
It would fix that survivability issue, hopefully.
Because I also feel like PCF think they gotta go through a lot to mix the vibe. Because a lot of if you look at a lot of the builds, a lot of them don't need a lot. They need like
Hey, what's up, guys?
something
Nick2
here and something
here.
there, and they're
Please
good. They
follow
don't
me
have
on
to be
youtube.com/Nick2. Thank
super
you for
duper
watching.
viable. They just need to be viable. Like
Yeah.
that's all you need. Just being viable is good enough. Not just
Mhm.
complete useless. Just make it viable, and you don't gotta add this and that and that and this. Just change a set. Like what they did, I think with the forward set, they added AP and not AP to it, cooldown stuff like that could go a long way. Like for like the seismic arms and hands, they have max health. You could change that to AP, and the seismic helmet wouldn't be so sought after because that's another thing where stuff wasn't static. A lot of the RNG into having certain gear sets would be way less. But it's a lot of avenues they
Yeah,
can go
man.
to really fix the balance of the game to where they don't have to go as hard as they think they need to.
Mhm. Absolutely, brother. I sometimes it's the one little thing that you change on a build or like you change on a mod will legitimately change that build completely because we can all agree that in any build that we utilize, if we change one mod or we change like one piece of gear to something else, it legitimately changes that whole entire build completely. Like you can actually do
Yeah.
some work. And I learned this very early. Shout out to Dude with a Blunt again when he told me take off pants on fire and use sunburn and you're going to see what you're going to be able to do. And I did that and I was like, holy shit. Wow. World of a difference. So I agree with that. I definitely
I think
100%.
another great example is that if the Trespasser set, they literally just added damage, and Trickster has gone from a class that can't do damage to a class where like it's the damage
Oh
it
yeah.
puts out is insane now. Like I think it's 6% damage, right? That stacks up, right? That's all it did, and the class is insane now. That
I would
one
okay. I
little
wouldn't call it
change,
insane. I wouldn't call it
yeah, not
insane.
It is
It
insane,
no,
but
no, no.
requires
It is
setup.
insane. It is
It's
insane.
Because
not
it's a big
insane.
change.
that
It's a
that
big
one
change.
They
that one
made a meta build stronger, Play-Doh. What do you mean it's not insane?
Yeah, but it's okay. You can't just say it's insane when it still struggles in harder content with health scaling.
True. No, you're
Right?
right. You're
Yeah.
right. I mean,
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
as broken as Techno. You could argue for sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. But it is
What
insane.
it
Sorry,
shows,
it is
what
insane.
it
It is
does
I mean,
insane.
show though that
yeah, it highlights that they are not afraid to balance things pretty aggressively, right? Like, pretty surprisingly aggressively, actually.
No, I think we're good, man. I think those minor little changes and it'll take us a very long way. I mean, the PCF, Square Enix, you ain't got to look far. You got 5 individuals in this podcast right now. Just send us the email, give us the
It's the
access,
email.
we'll test it, we'll break it down, and then that's it. And you're good.
Well, it's whatever. Like, I just hope they take this at heart and not. I know we're ranting, but at the end of the day, like, it's about your community that's still willing to play the game and whatnot and all of that. And community input is good input. We're not saying this just out of our asses, right? We're saying this after experienced hours in the game. We've seen what works, we've seen what doesn't, and we know the ways we can fix it. Using examples of power creep is a cop out. Buffing firepowers while nerfing AP makes no sense. Worried about APs being strong when firepower has been left untouched since the beginning of the game. Things
Well,
like
yeah,
that is something that I think they can work towards kind of adjusting until World Slayer is officially launched, because I think people would love to see a little bit of balance changes, because like you guys have said in the podcast, balance changes is legitimate new content.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's really my ultimate point. It's that this will bring different types of people back to the game, right? Like we're speaking of the no timers and the Tiago rerolls bringing people back. I mean, same thing for balance. It's going to bring a different type of people, player back to the game, in my opinion. And I think
Mhm.
that's something they should look into, personally.
Right.
You know how many people
In my
told me,
opinion.
like on my stream and on my YouTube, saying, "Hey, I'm gonna get the game again because I want to play Trickster now because they saw the Trespasser changes." You know, you're gonna get these. Yeah, dude with a blunt again. Great point. You're gonna get these people coming back to play these builds if you buff it.
And what does that transition to? More money. How does it transition to you to more money? Now you could put a price on World Slayer. And guess what the people are gonna do? They're gonna pay for it. And they're not gonna feel like I wasted $60 on the game originally. Well now, hey, listen that. They'll go ahead and pay, the $20 or whatever it is. If it's, I'm not saying there's gonna be a price on it, but if there's a price on it, it'll be a no-brainer. In my opinion, it will be 100% a no-brainer, and people would pay for the DLC expansion, whatever the case may be, happily. Like hell yeah, let's go, because I'm able to be stronger with my characters. So I don't know. I don't see nothing bad coming out of it. If anything, I just see all great things coming out of it. You know what I'm saying? I see all great things coming out of you just taking that time and that opportunity to do those things. So, but I think we've ranted long enough.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we've definitely ranted long enough about balance, but it was a good rant to have. And I did say we were gonna talk about the bulk of this here, right? But I think it was a good conversation to have. Let's go ahead and move on to some of the gameplay aspects of the game now after the Horizon update, the new Horizon update. I think we discussed timer and no timer already, so I don't think we need to touch on that. But let's touch on connectivity for players, because I personally think the connectivity has improved significantly since launch. I don't know if the New Horizon update improved connectivity too much, to be honest. But those same connectivity issues that have still plagued the game when you're playing off-host, aka client, are still present with certain mods like Toxic Lead not applying, and I'm sure this applies to other mods as well. Certain skills like Hunt the Prey not working properly because of the desync and lag. The weapon desync is still there, where you see an image of another gun, but that's not the current gun you have equipped. So there are still caveats and nuisances, but I think overall for like the casual player, the connectivity is better than it's ever been. But when you start noticing these, even for the casual players, especially when playing Trickster is the biggest offender, or AP builds feel really bad to play off host as well. Let's just put it that way. Certain AP builds feel extremely bad to play off host.
Yeah. I think Xbox is still having issues, yeah, if I'm not mistaken. There's any Xbox users out there that are still experiencing some issues. I don't know if that's definitely still an issue. I know Stadia could join us now, so
Well, being on Xbox till next gen, I really can't say I haven't seen anything honest. I feel like the game is just smooth out there. I think since the update, I think I've crashed once, and that was about it. Other than
Yeah,
that, it
yeah.
really hasn't been. It's been smooth, honestly. Crawlers don't break my brain game anymore.
okay.
So that's
So
a
it's better than
plus.
what it was before, and you're on an Xbox old gen.
No, Series X. I'm on new gen. New gen.
Oh, you're a new gen. Okay, but it's
I
running a
would
whole
still
lot
not
better
recommend
than
this game for old gen, and be honest.
yeah. So I would assume that the only issue is old gen, right? That the old gen, the individuals that are still on the old gen are still having some of these issues, right? If that's safe to say, Tank Man, you still having connectivity issue? Are you on an old gen or are you in a new gen? That would be my question.
Tank Man's also in South Africa, so his connection there is. I think I would
Oh,
say Tank Man's a little bit of an outlier in this one. I think
oh,
if you're
so
connecting to folks like in a reasonable amount, like before I would have red bars on Palm's connection, but now I have yellow bars, and he's in Was it
Well,
Palm?
yeah, same.
I'm gonna fuck
Yeah,
this up again. Is it
usually,
Maryland?
usually when I connect to
Yeah.
Pluto, I'm just a hard red bar. But sometimes I'm a yellow bar. Like I think the other day we played, I had no bars actually. I had no bars, so it's definitely
But you know, if
improved.
you're yeah, but if you're gonna like be in the States and play for someone in Australia, don't expect that process to
Oh
be
yeah.
fun. You know what I mean? That's just not gonna happen. Like current technology can't support like decent connection when one person's here and the other person's like just off the
Play,
screen. So
playing with Full Metal.
Well, yeah, I
full
mean,
pedals
let's
spot.
be super real. Like the peer-to-peer system will always have these problems. Ultimately, like there's nothing they can do to fix, like 2-second delay on somebody from Australia. So, but I mean, I will say they did improve the stability of the game massively because I haven't crashed at all since the patch, and that's actually very surprising. And I know Palm touched on it as well, but no crashes, and I keep the game open for like 10 hours, and I don't have any crashes, so it's pretty surprising.
Mm.
Oh, also they did say they improved the matchmaking, right? So you match with people closer to you now, so that's something as well.
Mm-hmm.
I
Okay, so that's
personally
good.
crashed a little bit, but only, and it's very specific and niche. It's when older gen consoles try to connect to me. At times, whatever causes that just makes my game completely hard crash. But that's another reason not to get this game on older gen consoles because I think older gen consoles, you're really seeing the age of those old gen consoles. And I don't even fault PCF for this. I think, it's time that older gen consoles are retired. Like the PS4s, the Xbox 360s, or whatever, the not Series X or the Series S, the older gen ones without
Xbox
the raw
One.
horsepower required to run some of these new games. Like Battlefield 2140 or 2042 is a great example. It just doesn't work on older gens because it doesn't even really work on PCs anyway. So imagine like that working, trying to be
It's gonna
attempted to
happen
work on an old gen
eventually.
console. Yeah.
But I think there's like a waiting period that they gotta wait before they can just completely abandon. But I'm pretty sure next year into 2023 we'll eventually see games dropping old gen completely. So it's usually how I know. So like, wait, Cyberpunk 2, Cyberpunk was a disaster. It was that you didn't see gameplay for it. Honestly, yeah, the old gen console is just rough right now.
It
So
can't
it's
keep up with the updates. It
yeah.
cannot keep up.
There was one more mention here. I guess we could do this really fast because not a lot of people probably care about this. But how does speedrunning feel? I personally have done some solo speedruns on Trickster. It feels great to me because of the buffs. But if you look at it from like a duo and trio perspective or a solo class perspective that didn't get buffed, for Palm and Dude with a Blunt, how is speedrunning right now for you guys?
Oh, it feels fine. They just nerfed AP a bit. I mean, Pyro is still broken, so it feels pretty fine, honestly.
Okay.
Palm as a solo
From
pyro.
for my solo pyro, I feel like in the beginning I was kind of like I wouldn't say over exaggeration, but like you know, after like I kind of played more, I can pretty much kill the shaman every time without even dying now. Cause like I just cause I got an understanding of like how his attack work. Like I know I can counter every his attack. The only issue I do have though is a spider boss. I think I can speak with tricks to like you literally can't hunt the predator boss at all. My morning winds doesn't hit the boss. Like literally, most of my skills don't damage the boss, and I'm not really sure what's the issue with that boss. But that's probably the only issue I have with solo speedrunning. And then, like in trios, I mean, like I can still clear, but it's I gotta go through a lot to clear. But it's whatever. Or in the camp plan
Mediocre
run
has a
wasn't
great
serious at
question
all.
for you.
The,
Oh, the
the
camp
camp
plan
plan
run
wasn't
wasn't.
serious at all.
But you
No,
did
I
try
mean
your
I had
hardest, right? Yeah, you
no,
to
I
try
had
to get the time.
I had double morning winds on and two fortresses mods on. No. Yeah, if you look at my gear, I still had on basically pre-patch dev gear, double morning winds. You know, yeah, I wasn't trying.
Yeah, that's getting rejected.
Sorry, what you mean?
What was your time on the Chem Plant Devastator?
Almost 9 minutes.
Uh,
That was an
Well, yeah,
unoptimal build.
I mean, ultimately, we're probably gonna be forced to go slower because of the nerfs to AP, but whatever. Pyro can still work, so it's like speedrunning. It doesn't really matter. I'm ultimately what I care more about is the overall balance of the game.
Right.
The one thing I
You
will
know,
say though is I feel like with these changes to speedrunning, I feel like it's kind of harder now, you know, because back then I felt like it was kind of so easy because like literally you put a pyro on the map and damn it, it could clear pretty much any situation you put it in. You could literally take off. You could have captain hunter on and it could clear still because you didn't need the AP mode. I feel like you kind of have to be smarter now with your stacking. You know, you can't just toss heavies anywhere and clear. You got to be smart with it. You know, it's kind of I kind of like it because I mean that means it's a little skillful to it. I guess. So I like that part.
Yeah, so ultimately, the consensus on speedrunning is Ash Blast Pyro is still broken. That's basically the
Yeah,
consensus.
yeah, pretty
and
much.
technos are still broken. So
Oh yeah,
for
but they weren't
trios, I think we
changed.
would be fine.
They weren't changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, technos received 0 adjustments, which is fine because I don't think PCF are looking to, you know, I know the nerfs to AP are the result of the fortress change and moaning winds.
Yeah,
I'm
I mean
very
they had
confident.
intention. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very confident firepowers will receive the same nerf eventually, looking at certain firepower mods. So I feel this is coming for firepower classes as well. Um, but they had good intentions. They just needed to adjust their numbers a little bit. But I'm okay with them if they don't touch Techno that hard because the goal isn't to nerf Techno and make the game more, just slower to play or just unfun to play for the power fantasy feeling. But the goal is to put other builds maybe not up there or maybe some that even surpass it, but around that area, right? Around that area.
Mm-hmm.
And I know
Another
we
thing I
went
will
back to
say
balance
though,
again because it's such a big
Jesus.
topic. I know we went back to balance again, but it's just you know
another
this
thing I
patch
will
did
say,
nothing
even though
for
it's
it.
these, but I feel like it shows just how much of the forces, like before they nerfed fortress, I was already playing around with pyro without fortress, and like you could still clarify. But I feel like fortress just was so crucial for AP builds because they just don't have that raw ability to stack your AP through the roof, and you see it that much on Nick. Like literally taking fortress on pyro, I put on Phoenix Force, and the AP I get from there is basically the same. So literally did I lose anything? Not really. But a Devastator, they don't have that ability to gain AP naturally because, I mean, the entire bottom tree for AP on Dev is just complete garbage. I mean, there's really no way to.
True.
It's just complete. No matter what you say about it, it's just complete garbage. Like, the bleed duration is nice, but the entire everything in that tree is just complete garbage.
Oh,
I'm not
but
sure.
let's not mince words. Like every special node on the bottom tree of AP Devastator is trash compared
Yeah,
to
it's not
like
complete trash,
special.
but like the synergies are trash. Is what I would say. Like comparing the synergy to the bottom tree AP Pyro, the synergies on that are just insane. Cause you literally you got the know that your overheat damage. It's so much
Mediocre
synergy
brings
that's
a
on
great
there. It's
point.
just nice.
I mean, Mark's accumulation, right?
Yeah, and then you mark simulation.
Amazing
You
node.
have so many nodes that that bump your damage up where these classes just don't have that, and that's
Yeah.
where it can go again for balancing class redesign because a lot of these classes are just questionable of how
Yes.
bad
Sneed
I
they
also
mean, I
brings
want
are.
to
up a
bring
great
back.
point.
Oh,
I've
sorry. I want to
always
bring
said it.
back to a point that Boz said earlier, which is nerfing the TAC-AR. But I mean, they already did a pretty big nerf to Techno right on release. That like they halved the poison node, the toxic damage node, they halved it,
Yeah.
and they nerfed the TAC-AR already. So like if they nerf even more the Techno, it's basically admitting that they fucked up and made the class way too strong. So I don't know if
Yeah.
they'll do that, because
The only way I'll
I've
see a
said it.
nerf happen in the attack air is if they actually buff the other weapon. Because, in my opinion,
Yeah.
you can't just nerf the attack air because the distance between attack yard and any other gun in the game is laughable how bad they are. Like you can stack every damage mod in the game with one gun, and it still wouldn't. Just literally put dark stack on attack yard, every damage mod on one gun, attack yard still better by a mile because it's just the raw damage is just so high, and it's just that good.
I've said it. I've said it all along. Just
no, I
take a
mean
look. Take a look at the synergy in the Technomancer. take a look at the synergy. You guys just said it at the pyro bottom tree. Just look at the synergy, and then just say, okay, hey, these are some of the changes that we gotta make to some of these other classes, and then that's it. Like,
I mean, Buzz, my point is they already nerfed the TAKR, right? Like, so what else are they just gonna throw it in the garbage and give it 3k base damage? I'm just, I mean, they can do that. I just feel like at that point it's basically admitting that the whole class is too broken, and I don't know if they want to do that.
That's the thing,
I
boss.
mean,
Like, even if you RPM of the attacker yard, you still can one tap stuff. So what's really changed? Because I mean, it's not shooting that slow. I mean, like I mean, if I could one tap a boss and take a full clip with SMG, I'm gonna still choose attacker yard because it got that single target burst damage to where attacker yard doesn't. So I mean, like, it's still not balanced. Honestly, it's still overpowered. I mean, that's really not good to nerf. Honestly, if you were to nerf it.
I
do we
would
want to tackle
say,
some questions?
Is it a bug though? Like, I don't
bug,
think
boss. I don't think that's a
I don't
bug
think
I mean, I
because
really
patching it
wouldn't
is a bug.
say.
Pretty sure it's
Not really,
it's a
because you can do it in
mechanic.
yeah, you can do it in so many games where you can overpower. I mean, if that's the case, wouldn't like for example, if you got semi-automatic gun, you can tap the gun faster than the RPM. So I mean, technically, it's not really a bug. I mean,
I
it's
mean, you
kind of
can
a
look at
mechanic.
Death
Yeah.
Shield as another example, right? For Death Shield, it's the opposite, boss. If you tap the Death Shield,
Oh
it
yeah,
doesn't
true.
go
Yeah, you
faster;
look at
it
that
goes
shield.
slower, right?
Yeah, it
If you
goes
hold the
slower. So I
Death
mean,
Shield, it goes faster. So I think it's a unintended game mechanic. Um, he's exaggerating when he says one shot, but you can
yeah,
look at Death Shield as an example. Was the Death Shield meant to do that too? I mean, there's so many things that we don't know what they intended because they won't tell us. So everything we're saying
Well,
here is all just what's the word?
I mean, let's just say it
Yeah.
this way, right? Like, I saw a
Speculate.
video on release, pretty much, of the TAKR being tap shooting the TAKR. Like a video on Reddit when the game was on release, super popular. Like, so it's been in the game for 7 months. Pretty sure PCF knows about it for 7 months. So at this
Thank you,
point,
Sneed.
if it is a bug, like,
true, true. Yeah, if they
seems
saw it
like
was
a
an issue, they would have
yeah,
changed it then. Yeah,
yeah,
I do agree with
like,
that.
and
It
also,
goes back to the same argument with the Tiago changes, right, Boz? Like they know it's an issue, but do they see it as a problem, kind of thing? Same thing with all the attribute rerolling and all of that. So it all of this kind of falls into the same category, because I think it's a nice mechanic, right? Like hunt the prey with tricksters. You got to melee after the reload animation to be able to do certain things to get your ammo back, which is working 50% of the time now. There's also game mechanics to certain like classes as well. That's just not like tapping the gun. There's the cold snap and turret combo where you can animation cancel kind of thing to make it go out faster. And
Let's hit. Let's.
I
Tackle
think it would
some
just be
questions.
clunky.
I
Oh yeah, let's
mean,
tackle some questions though. Yeah, unless we want to,
yeah, I mean,
unless Spaghetti want to
kind
finish
of
your
like,
thoughts.
I mean, it's kind of like what we're doing right now is doing questions, but
Yeah.
like, I don't think techno's a problem as much as you're making it out to be, Buzz, because like only people that know the game very well and play it well performed amazingly on techno. Like otherwise,
Correct.
Exactly.
like people have a super hard time. Like how many people don't even use the TAKR because they don't like it, they lose ammo, or they
Exactly.
don't do they like the episode 0 better. Like, so I feel like you're kind of acting from your point of view where you're actually pretty good at the game, and maybe not everybody will be as good as you are.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
know
you
a
can
lot of
do it
people
with the
that
trickster,
run.
boss.
Like you can
Listen,
do
can I
double
say
hard
this? Can I say
carries
this
with
real quick?
Trickster, with Dev, no timer, right? No timer. So now you
No
can do
timer. Yeah,
double,
yeah, no timer. But here's the thing, like. You can go into other carry streams and watch them play Technomancer, and you can see them on the ground 90% of the time. Sorry, I'm being toxic, but
No, you're not.
technos aren't like, they're only broken if you're good at the game and understand the game and mechanics. But if you gave a casual player the exact same build I have and say go do Boomtown double hard carry, I guarantee you they're not double hard carrying.
Nope.
Even Scorchlands,
Yeah,
the easiest map in the game, I guarantee they're not going to double hard carry.
Nope.
Go to the easiest map, Coliseum, and I guarantee you they will not double hard carry.
Absolutely.
true.
Yeah,
'Cause,
if
like the
anything-
best techno players can make techno feel like a tank because of that skill leech. If you can abuse that skill leech, you're basically invincible. That's like kinda
Seriously,
one
you
of
wanna
the biggest
be a
skill
god
sets
techno? Just watch
for
this video.
techno. being able to abuse your skills, being able to have constant aggro on enemies, and being able to just constantly kill everything will make techno just up there in elite. That's like the biggest thing for it.
Yeah.
And I do agree with that. Like, it's not that easy to play techno, because a lot of
And I
people
would
do use LMGs and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's exactly what I was gonna say. A lot of people, when they run the Technomancer, they really don't go after the TAC AR. I've seen people use that Amber Vault. I've seen people especially use LMGs. So they, TAC AR, yeah, it's a strong gun, but a lot of people are not too fond
Yeah,
of it.
especially on
They don't.
console.
They honestly, they really don't. They don't like it. They don't like it. People prefer to just use the automatic AR, and that's why I think the Amber Vault is probably one of the most popular guns that I've seen people use with their techno. That I've 100% have said, hey, if you're gonna use that, why don't you use a tech AR? Oh, I don't like it. So aim plays a factor. Um, Knowing what to do plays a factor, and a lot of people do not possess the knowledge of the in the game that we possess. So that's why
Well, I mean,
sometimes
boss, I have boss. That's an sorry to cut you off, boss. That's like an ultimate endgame Technomancer guy, the best build, right? I mentioned the other ARs like Absolute Zero in my alternate Technomancer guys, just to put that out there. It's
yeah,
all about the TAC AR because it is the best build, right? You want to play the best build that exists in the game, you have to use the TAC AR. You want to do alternative builds, you can look at my other techno videos, which is linked down in the description of that video, which utilizes TAC AR. I mean, sorry, which utilizes the Absolute Zero. But I wouldn't ever recommend an LMG on a techno. You're just trolling at that point.
yeah. Do we have any other questions?
Oh yeah, just read through the chat. There's a few. Attica, I answered this to Attica. Replied, but he asked, "Is there an expectation among ambassadors that PCF will listen to the recommendations?" And yeah, I wouldn't say an expectation, but they take our suggestions. They'll look into it.
100%
But like
they
I
do.
mentioned, it's ultimately up to them if they're going to implement it. But yes, they do listen. They do a great job of listening. But at
Yes.
the end of the day, right, they can only do so much with all the suggestions we pile on, and
Mhm.
when are they going to go through that blanket list of everything? So at some point, it probably just feels like white noise to them, which I understand.
So yeah, so like in a Discord, if someone puts a suggestion or hey, what's up with this and that and this, they're really good on responding. They're really good at giving us feedback or answering any question, and especially if we DM them. I know I have several DMs conversations with Toby. I think Plato has as well. So they do listen, but you have to be able and ready to explain the reasoning behind your suggestion,
Capo, let
right?
me
It
cut you
cannot
off
just
real quick again. Sorry. Guys, if you want to answer questions, that's probably easiest for us to read. I do have a podcast for your question, channel point redemption. That's like one channel point. Otherwise, we'll just get to what we see in the chat that we feel like is worth discussing kind of stuff. Just sorry, Capo, go ahead.
yeah, and you have to be able to explain behind it. Cannot just be, hey, you need to buff AP builds. Well, why? Because it needs a buff because it doesn't do like that can't be your answer. It has to be, a really thought out answer, because you're not just talking to regular people, right? You're talking to developers or community managers that when they go back and they kind of say, hey, this is a suggestion we got, they want like legitimate analytical answers like, hey, oh, I see why. You know what I mean? Somebody used their channel points
Thank you,
earlier.
Yuke. I did. They were just like asking how we were doing and stuff. I looked through them.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Gaming asks, what class do you all think was OP right now? Gaming, I think you came late to the podcast. But tech, we discussed this and we heavily went to this about, but I'll answer for a quick TLDR. Techno is the most OP class in the game. Then it's up to you to decide if it's a Trickster or Pyro, depending on their playstyle, because they're pretty much neck and neck. I believe Pyro does have the edge, though. So it'd be like Techno. So on the scale, you have Techno, you have Pyro, you have Trickster, and then you have Devastator. But that is the tier list for classes.
And Devastator is nowhere near the other three
Yeah,
classes.
the reason I did this to Devastators is I wish I could say and Devastators and put them like even up to here, but they really are down here where all the other classes are kind of in a good spot. Then you have Devastators that just really have no direction.
I think the biggest issue though is just like the elite killing pyro, power. You know, I feel like because literally put any AP build in front of elite, you know, besides like phaser, and they just struggle really. It's
Well,
probably like the biggest
let's put
issue.
it this way, right? Put any AP build in front of an of an elite without weapon mods and debuffs, and
True,
see what
true.
the AP build does, right?
Yeah, they
Mhm.
won't do anything. They will just fall over
Not a damn thing.
because
And
it's
so
just
here's my
like
question.
counter the resistances and armor the elites have.
Thank you. Thank you. So what you this goes into why it needs to be buffed. Like then what's the use of an AP build? If I'm running it and I have all these resistance and all these counters, then what can I do?
Yeah. And this is also another issue of why round skills so I think round skills a bypass all armor I'm not sure if round
Yes.
has pierce. I'm not sure about the resistance present, but yeah, you literally bypass armor and do damage directly to their health. AP.
No. You hit resistance. That's why they
Oh, you
can't
hear me?
nerf. Yeah, that's
Oh
why you
yeah, true,
can't
true, yeah, true,
nerf
true, yeah,
resistance
yeah,
because
because I forgot
nerfing
about that. Yeah,
resistance will
yeah,
buff
true.
Techno and Trickster.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, what they could do, they could kind of like work a way to it, like not because they still kind of anomaly damage, right? So that wouldn't work.
I mean, what I think
Damn.
they should do is make AP scale way fucking harder. That's
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
think they should
because
do. Like,
yeah,
if you're investing so much into getting anomaly power, it should make your abilities one-shot mobs. You know what I mean? Like a little
yeah.
peripheral. I should be one-shotting that thing with a perfectly optimized AP build with my skills. I feel like that's just like logical.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I'm not sure if there's diminishing returns with AP because I haven't really been able to test it. Because like playing with like the
It's
pyro tool, you can AP just scale so high, so like it's really hard to see is there diminishing returns as you get it higher, you know. So I mean, it's
You
something
feel
I haven't
like
been able to figure out yet.
mediocre?
But you know, trying to compare pyro to classes like I think I'm not. Cause then again, most classes literally can't get the AP as high as pyro, so we really don't know what happened. Honestly, like just imagine you can have a devastator with a bleed build with almost a million AP like a pyro could. It could be insane, but you just can't build your AP that high.
well, I
You
think
gotta,
the biggest problem is just the scaling, right? Because
yeah,
like the skills have very low base damage on them, and so even if you're multiplying them like crazy, you're still not doing that much damage, right? The only
yeah,
reason Pyro is able to scale to scale his damage like crazy is because of Akari giving ridiculous amounts of AP. Without
yeah,
Akari, I mean that's the reason everybody uses Akari on AP Pyro because anything else is worthless pretty much,
yeah.
right? It gives you insane AP, gives value to your skills, and really that's a great highlight of the problem. We need more value to the skills on every other class, or really nerf Akari and buff every like AP on everywhere.
Yeah, if AP did scale higher, I could see Arcari being nerfed because at the point it would be busted at that point because you got AP scaling higher than Akari with that too. That's I definitely nerf Akari at that point.
Are we okay to move on to another viewer question? You guys can keep.
Yeah.
It's okay
Yeah,
if you want to keep discussing. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Blacksmith
I
asks.
think
Oh,
they
sorry. Go ahead.
will. I mean, Scorchy, I just say this question. Sorry, I think they
Oh no,
will.
sorry. Yeah, go ahead. I was
Balance.
gonna go in order, but you can do it because this is kind of along with.
In my opinion, I think they will do balance. I don't know how much the balance will be, how significant it will be, but just judging on the track record, more balance is to come. I'm pretty sure.
Blacksmith asked a pretty generic one, saying, "Do you think survival or horde mode will make survivability builds more useful?" I would say we would have to see, because a lot of the damage build does have that survivability. But I could see like, if the build is if the horde mode gets intense, like you have 10 broodmother spawns and a shit ton of hordes, then it doesn't matter how much damage you untech, you're gonna get clapped. So
yeah.
I guess it really just
Yeah.
depends on seeing how they implement horde mode, because without seeing that, it's kind of again speculation. Like Sneed, thank you for reminding me,
Then
speculation.
back to this could also I think I mentioned a few days ago to where like endless mass, you know, it could be a bigger range, but you have like an actual I'm trying to think of the word. Can't think of it, but yeah, like
Radius,
it could be
radius,
no, yeah,
bigger
it can
radius, the
not that
circle.
word. No,
Oh,
I
okay.
want the race to be bigger, but a taunt, you know, like a
Impact.
taunt thing, like you have like an actual taunt
All
system for
aggro.
that.
All
Yeah, like
aggro.
aggro thing, yeah. Because something like that, it could be useful. But the radius of endless mass is just so small, in my opinion. That it won't have that much benefit in that situation. But like if it was had a bigger radius, then yeah, I could definitely see a situation where like, having a Devastator that's attracting aggro from enemies will be good because then the class would actually be living up to its name. Like, because PCF said they wanted to be like that, but you really can't do it like that, honestly,
I
in
I would
game.
I would say to answer, was it Black Smurf? Is that his? Yeah, do I think I would take a look at it like this. If a survivability build can survive on these new expeditions, then I think you should be fine as far as a horde mode. Because you have to understand, like, all it is just knowing what you're doing, right? And you have an abundance amount of elites and ads in these new expeditions, and I'm pretty sure that if you put a full survivability build together, especially like a Devastator, he's able to hold his own in there because that's kind of what he's meant to do. So I don't think that's a question. If it's able to do it now, I think it'll be fine if that mode does appear. All right. The only issue is he able to kill those enemies that are around him? That's gonna be the question that will arise at that moment. Can that Devastator do the damage that's needed to clear a horde mode or a survivability mode, right? Because I think the
And we
survivability
shouldn't
is
only
there.
single out Devastators as being the only tanky class in
Oh
the
yeah,
game, you know?
absolutely.
Yeah. Tanky tricksters,
All
let's
of
make
them.
them have a purpose too, because let's be
Yeah.
honest, they suck. You
Yep.
make tank tricksters have the same issue as, tanky Devastators, no damage.
And I think we just it's that same issue that we've had since the beginning, right? You go middle tree, you're doing no damage. You're doing no
Yeah.
damage. You're just
Another
sitting
thing.
there. You're just sitting there, taking the right, taking hits upon hits, and so you know,
I
so
mean, I
that's
think
something that definitely you have to look at.
I think ultimately, like the horde or survival mode should just be forgotten by people. I'm gonna be honest, because the game is just limited in the way it's built, and constantly spawning enemies on the same spot. I feel like it's just, you know, not something the game is able to do in its current state. Personally, from just what I'm, from a pedantic, from a nobody point of view, it just feels like the game is not set up in any way to have a system like that. So I think probably what we're
I
gonna
hard
get is
agree there
just
too, though.
we're just gonna get more expeditions, right? We're gonna get like maybe another map because the expedition is like the expedition
Oh yeah,
table is kind of
Mediaper brings
filled
up a
right
good
now.
point. It'd have to be a wave type of mode. If I could see that being implemented in the game, a wave
True.
type, because you
Right.
can see it in City of Nomads already, in a sense,
Yeah.
right? Because it
Yes.
definitely feels like a horde mode at the end. It's just
I was
a little
about to
oppressive.
just say that. Yeah, that you get the two brood mothers, you get the one behemoth, and then you get alphas and those little ads upon waves of them. So yeah, City of Nomads, you definitely see it. You're saying so. What we
I
got next?
mean, I guess we could see. We never know. They might introduce a new game mode actually.
We'll see.
Third
What
Eye
I'm
Managed Chaos
expecting,
says.
honestly,
Sorry.
what I'm expecting,
I'll check. Sorry.
honestly, is just a new campaign and a new expedition table, probably.
Yep. Agree.
Yeah, but even then again, I still don't think survival hailing bills tank was like this would work in this game. I feel like the way this game is played, they just don't work on it because it seems like it's just a DPS centric game, honestly. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like if I make the comparison to like Division, because I feel like it's a great comparison all the time. Is just Division has a spot for every build. You can have a tank build that's useful. You can have a tank build, and you have it in like you got your DPS players behind it because they will just get one tap because you got your glass cannon on and you'll get one tap or you got your Halo build. The game actually has useful places for these build where Outriders just doesn't because expeditions are just so one dimensional in my opinion. Like it's just you run through it and you complete it and that's really it. There's really no time or spot for it really. I mean not really there's no area for like a Halo or a tank build in this game. I feel like the game is just one dimensional in its end game itself. It's probably one of the biggest drawbacks for it,
I mean,
honestly.
ultimately though, that's the gameplay of the game, right? Like
Yeah,
through the whole campaign, it's the same thing, right? It's
yeah,
you go through a room, kill what spawns next room. So I mean, ultimately, and the way the enemies target you as well, target the players, right? It's completely RNG. So I
Yeah.
think really like it just lacks those RPG elements to make right compared to
Yeah.
like an MMO, right? Like WoW or anything like that. It lacks those RPG elements to make those
Yeah.
builds feel meaningful, right? Like healing or tankiness, drawing aggro. And so
Yeah.
ultimately, I just feel like yeah, maybe the middle tree is just a mistake, right? Or
Honestly.
they would need to turn the middle tree into a support, where instead of like tankiness and kneeling or drawing aggro away from your enemies, it's more about making your teammates do more damage, right? So I think that's the direction they should go for, instead of like just kind of give up on the tank and healing part of it, and just buff your teammates, support your teammates with damage. I feel like that's really the way they should make the
Yeah.
support class more meaningful on every build, honestly.
Because to truly like make them work, you will honestly have to rework like this entire game's core mechanics just to like actually make healing builds work or tank build. Like the game literally is just I kind of don't know why they're in this game because they don't work. It's like the game wasn't. It's like PCF was trying to build for it, but then they just passed it off and just left it in there for whatever reason. It's kind of like how I say it. Like they wanted to do something like it, but just abandoned it
Yeah. I
and
mean,
it didn't have enough time to change it.
you bring up a great point there as well. Like the self healing mechanics, there's no aggro, so it's basically, yeah, the like the debuff aspect is really the only support mechanic that feels meaningful in the game. So I feel like they should really own in on the debuff aspect and really make that
Yeah.
I
meaningful
I
on more
think this
characters
is
and more builds.
I think to like summarize it, I think a lot of new players misunderstand what support is supposed to do in this game, right? Because this, unless you guys are talking about this and I'm fucking zero IQ and I didn't make the connection until now, but a lot of people go into the game saying, I need to support my team by being a tank. In this game, that is the absolute opposite you want to do. You
Yeah.
want to
Yeah. I
support your
agree.
team by being able to do damage. Because damage is literally everything in this game,
Or
whether
helping
there's a
them do
timer or
damage.
not, or help them
Or
do
helping
damage
them.
with
Yeah.
debuffs. Yes, and every class
Yeah.
has an
Or
ability
buffs.
to debuff in a sense. Pyro's the best. Devastators like have a debuff mechanic as well, and then Tricksters do damage while kind of debuffing with their vulnerable and all that stuff. But you can't really be a support in this game by being a pure tank because then you're just not literally you're just doing nothing.
Yeah, you're not pulling aggro, so it's irrelevant.
Yeah, and healing, like every build has intrinsic healing. So having a healer type is it's kind of made worthless that way as well.
Yeah. It'd be nice though if the game was like built like that. But I feel like it's also an issue. I feel like so many people from this game have came from games where like you had a like Destiny, Division. Trying to think of other looter shooters out there. I'm not sure, but a lot of those games have Halo and CC builds like and they work perfectly. And a lot of those games just aren't built like. Well, this game isn't built like that. Honestly, I mean, even though like it's inspired from Diablo. Diablo. I mean, I
Well,
think
yeah, I
you can
mean
go. I think there's
that's a great no, that's a great example actually, right?
yeah.
Because this game is inspired by Diablo, like they said, and in Diablo there's no healing, there's no like it's all single player type damage thing, right? You do your
Hmm.
damage on the
Yeah.
enemies, they die, and that's it. There's
Pretty
like
much.
if you die, it's your fault because you were too close to it, like or you did
Well,
something
there is
wrong.
some like certain life tap mechanics and stuff, but that's like, so late game, like perfect build kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but
Stuff
you
you
know what I
can't.
mean,
Yeah,
like
yeah. I know what you mean. I
like
know what you mean.
everybody's build will be completely independent and focused on doing damage because that's how the game
Yeah,
works. And
yeah.
this game was
Yeah.
clearly inspired by that idea,
And another
which is
thing is
fine.
though,
But if you want support classes in your game, and that's how it made, like you need to focus on
Actually, yeah,
debuffs.
Diablo is a great example because the support class in
yeah,
Diablo is literally battle orders, and every character can have it.
yeah, and that's the thing though. It doesn't. That's the thing though. Going to support class in Diablo doesn't make you do negative damage too. You know, cause like I can slap on bow and I'm still doing tanky damage. I can slap on life tap and I could still do damage in a sense. You know, like in this game, going those builds, you just completely toss your damage in the garbage.
Yeah.
So like, there's also that kind of thing. Like, even if you wanted to, you just lose all sorts of damage just going that event.
Let me go ahead to the next viewer question before we go on a tangent here.
Yes.
Tiger asks, we mentioned this on stream the other day, but what are some ideas that you could give to PCF for a possible class? I think that's just up to them. But I mean, there's already lightning in the game, so I wouldn't be surprised to see some sort of lightning anomaly class, or if they even want to venture into a new class.
Ooh, a class.
But
Oh,
I,
yeah,
I,
what's
I
that
would
dude named
think
Seth? I want to be like Seth, being able to do like
you'd like
telekinesis
Seth.
type shit. That's
Oh, that'd
what
be
I
pretty
want.
Oh
high.
yeah, I mean, by the way, just to be clear on the last point we did, sorry.
Oh, sorry, it's
There's no
okay.
aggro in this game. Like enemies will target anybody by complete RNG. There is no like aggro. There is no such thing as aggro in this game. If you're way in the back, an enemy will randomly target you and go all the way to you, even if there's people right next to it. So
Yeah,
ultimately,
I had the perfect
aggro is
example
not a
of
thing.
this. You remember our Mo and Doubt's friend where you was at the back of the map, not the front, and the alpha literally spawned there, dude with a blunt, and they ran across the entire map to me. Why? It's a show like it's RNG. Literally, it spawned next to him, but aggro me across
Yeah.
the entire map.
Actually, you
Yeah,
just
there is.
put up a good point though. Like, how can a third do a bunch of damage when there's like you just need a techno and pyro and you just complete the content. Like the third character doesn't even really matter in some cases.
Well, here's the
Um,
thing.
I
What you
would I
mean?
would go
Another
I would go
Borealis?
against that.
Another
I would go
well, no,
against
no, I
that.
just mean in general though. Like you don't
that's
need
the
another
I-
techno with
the
Borealis,
same
right?
reason you run 3 technos on some maps, right? You
I-
could run 3 technos on some maps. It's because having an independent person that can just deal out damage by itself, purely just shoot, kill, is invaluable. That's literally like to go fast.
I
That's literally invaluable.
You know
I
what I
would
think about
answer.
though?
Hold on. I would answer this question like this. All right, and I understand what Yuck is saying, but that's that's kind of unfair because you have to understand that not everyone knows how to play the game the way right in that fashion. Not
True.
every techno that you're gonna play with is able to do what you, like what anyone in this podcast or experienced players can do. You know what I mean? Not everyone can do what Palm can do with a pyro. You see what I'm saying? Because listen, I've played with people and I've had Devastator sometimes, or I've had a pyro, and I will tell you this one that them running a Devastator have done more damage than I do with a pyro, or at times possibly with a techno. So we have to look at it in that aspect. And I understand what you're saying, but we go back to what we said earlier. Not everyone knows how to play the game in, I want to say, elite fashion. Not everyone can hit their shots with techno. Not everyone knows when to ash blast or phaser beam or whatever the case may be. Everyone doesn't know how to do that. So, you know, that's why it falls into that play. Because you know, I could get dude with a blunt on a Devastator right now, and then he could run with some guys that has techno and pyromancer, and dude with a blunt or palm or even myself will probably do more damage than all those individuals because we know how to play the game. You know what I mean? So to answer that question, it's dependent on who you're playing with. You know what
I
I'm
agree
saying?
with
What
that.
pyro?
No, I agree with that. But I can also see it from like the perspective is like two people, like if you know the two people what are doing, right? It's enough to complete the end game campaign at that difficulty.
Right.
But it's not like saying the third person isn't invaluable. Like Big Daddy said,
Well,
damage
I mean,
is
it's
always valuable. Just to do it faster. Even though there's no timers, you just always want to be blasting in this game, right?
I mean, a great example, right, is Boz saying technos shouldn't be able to do double carries, right? But I mean, so you could just say the same thing, right? Why you don't even need 2 other people if you have a techno, but that's just not true, right? Having 2 other people in the game just adds a ton of value to that techno. So I just feel
Oh
like,
yeah.
you know, I think I don't think that the fact that you're able to do double carries mean that the class is broken. That's
Right.
ultimately
Every class can do double. I mean, tricksters can do double carries. It's just going to be a little bit slower on some maps. And honestly, even pyros can do double carries, and devastators can do double carries.
Yeah.
It's just going to be
they
slower. It's just efficiency. But when I do double carries on Technomancer, sure, people will come in and go, "Holy shit, is Techno really this busted?" I'm going to do the same thing when I hop on my Techno, and then they realize they do negative damage because they're in close range, and all these mobs are coming at them, and they don't cold snap or know when to use all of these, right? For us as veterans, we've played the game so fucking much. We just know everything. So when someone comes to my stream and says, Plato, how the fuck are you doing all this? I literally say, go look at my Technomancer guide. It will literally explain to you how to do all of this. Because just giving you a snappy little fancy gameplay, then going over your skills, and then going over your attributes, and then going over your class tree isn't going to tell you how to play the class. It's a good starting point, right? But you're going to go into that expedition and going, why can't I just do what I saw this streamer do? And then that's why I think it's really unfair to say, yeah, well, techno, and I know meme about it a lot, right? I meme about it to meme it, but it's always so valuable having a debuff pyro with me all the time. They can Ash Blast overheat because it makes my life so much easier. While it's true I can double carry, I always prefer to have someone else deal damage as well. Because that's why I always ask when people go, hey, they're going to go debuff pyro, I would say I would prefer if you go Ash Blast overheat pyro, because the more damage you do means the faster we can clear the map and the faster people can get more carries. Because while the debuffs do help, if you provide debuff and damage, then it's just going to be better than just pure debuff. That's how I see that.
Shout out to Woody for the raid. Shout out. We see you, man.
Oh yeah, I would add that
Man, Woody, thank you.
support classes are very good in this game. Actually, that's really something. I mean, debuff. I will specify debuffs are something they did really well in this game. Like you can do little damage and still feel like you contributed massively because you see those L bars go down faster, and you know that you did that. And so I feel like, like Yuki is saying, like you can contribute to a team just as much with debuffs, and I feel like you should really, really own in on that point and make sure that the debuff builds, the debuff support is easily accessible, and people that want to support can do it.
What else we got? Are these mods? How about these mods? How should I get them? Some of the mods, if you just rotate Tiago, you'll be able to pull them. Phantom, you can rotate Tiago and see if you can pull it from there. And the rest of them, if you can't acquire them from purchasing certain pieces from, Bailey or Tiago, then obviously you would, play the game and see if they drop on any of the gear pieces. But usually, most of the tier 3 mods, you just get them from legendaries. So you can just rotate Tiago to see if you can pull what you may need. So hopefully that'll answer your question.
Yes, sir, Phantom. That'll help you out a lot. Or you can just get them by playing the game and struggle through it like the five
We
of us
all did at the beginning.
Okay, like you motherfuckers that are in here, that are new, that are returning, getting legendaries, I don't even want to hear about it anymore. I don't want to hear about you saying, I don't have this legendary, I don't have this mod. Motherfuckers, you know how easy it is for you to get a legendary in the game now? In an hour, you can get anything you ever wanted, okay? You know when I saw my first Death Shield? 200 hours in the game.
Oh, that's it? You saw your Death Shield in 200? I saw mine in 305.
No, you know how long it took me to get an Ugake, Kyle? We're not going to talk about that. It took a while.
Oh, well, it only took my third expedition on a trickster. I got the Ugaki cow. Sorry, I don't feel sorry for you. All right, man. I mean, we've been pushing 3 hours. I think we can wrap this up, guys. Great audience, though. We'll be back next
let
week.
me
with
answer
another one.
the last one that was posted by Jack. Has anyone had
yeah.
problems with the Earthborn weapons resetting to level 1 randomly? Pom, you want to explain why this happens, or do you want me to?
Oh, it's a console issue. I'm pretty sure, to where sometimes where when you boot the game up, you boot the game up faster than the DLC loads in, and you just lose your DLC.
Yeah, Pom lost a 95.5k, I think a perfect roll because of this
Two
bug.
of them.
He lost 2 of them.
He got it by exploiting the game.
What do
so
you
fuck
mean?
him. Fuck him.
Yeah, but he did get it by exploiting the game, and we do not. This is not a stream where we promote any of these exploits or anything like that. Okay, this is a very family-friendly stream here.
Listen, on console, the game spontaneously crashed a lot of times in a row.
Sure.
Listen,
so you got a 95k one.
Yeah, it kept crash. Yeah, it kept. Listen, man. The console issue was bad back then. You know how bad it was on console with the game crashing. It kept, man, it was constant.
I did more than 8k count.
I mean, not to reduce the issue. Let's be real. Like, yeah, the DLC deactivating and losing your gun. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But the great news is you can just create a new character and get it again because there you go. So I guess that's
Alright.
that's the caveat to it.
Well, no, but now it's capped. Yeah, now it's capped. at
But it is
85.
capped now. Yeah. If you lost to 90K plus, I mean that's just unlucky. But to also stop misconception, I feel like since we have a lot of viewers here, some that are new, some that are returning, guys, don't tunnel vision on firepower in your guns either, man. I think this is one of my soft triggers when they go, holy shit, you're only doing that damage because you have a 99.4K gun. I've always said this. An 85.7K Earthborn Energator Assault Rifle, the maximum you can roll for that gun, will always outperform a 99.9K Inferno Seed because it's all about the mod synergy and the damage you do with that synergy and knowing how to play the class. You can have like a 75K gun and still do the same amount of damage. Of course you're going to do slightly less, but firepower on a gun is not going to dictate you being able to complete an expedition going from like, this is extremely hard to, this content is a breeze.
Well, yeah,
So
I mean,
don't tunnel vision too much.
Ryan,
Yeah.
the best way to put it, right, is the synergies on your mods and your skill tree and your skills matter infinitely more than the number on your gun, like for sure.
All right.
Would you say
I
that
think-
though if you didn't have a 99.4 TAC AR? Yeah, Ragna, because I don't have a 99.4K TAP AR.
Yeah. I think we're good, boys.
But yeah, for our outro for our video, thanks for everybody for coming in. This was a good one. Hope you guys all enjoyed. Homies, go ahead and shout yourself out on your contacts and when they can find you, etc. etc. Go ahead, Capo.
I know you can't fully see me right now, but
yeah, I can.
you can definitely catch me at Capo167 on Twitch. I usually stream at 12 p.m. Monday through Fridays till about 3 p.m. You can also catch me on Capo1671 on Twitter. Go ahead and follow up to stay up to date with any kind of information that I may have. And you can also catch me on YouTube at YouTube Capo167, youtube.com/Capo167. My firepower pyro build is up right now. Check it out. And I know Maffeine stepped out, but you could definitely catch Maffeine on Twitch at twitch.tv/Maffeine, like caffeine, but remove the C and add the M. You can definitely catch him there. Also, an Outrider ambassador, so you could definitely catch us, myself and or Maffeine, at those channels. All right. Oh, also Maffeine has a Twitter, and it's Maffeine TV, so you can check him out on Twitter too. Palm or Dude with a Blunt.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
You can find me on youtube.com/dudewithablunt. Also on Twitch, same thing. Also on Twitter, same thing. Also, I have a Discord. Please join. Thank you.
Oh yeah, Discord. Forgot about Discord.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitch and YouTube at Pomerons. That's where I be. I don't have a Discord.
And you guys can just self promo all your channels right now too with shout outs and stuff. Just copy and paste them in the chat.
But if you
We
want to
need
get in
probably do-
contact
we
with
need
him,
to
you
do a
can join
command.
Plato's or Do With a Blunt's Discord. And
I should do a command
be
for
there.
exclamation mark homies. Yep, I'll do one.
Yeah. I don't have a Twitter. Well, I do, but yeah. Can't get that up.
And you can obviously find me here and on YouTube and whatever. Thanks for a great podcast today, guys. Hope you enjoyed. We'll do an announcement when we're gonna do our next podcast. We'll try to come up with more topic points, etc. Today was a really good one because we had a lot to discuss, and maybe we'll even go in on some of these more in depth. Like maybe we'll have an entire podcast just discussing balance changes. Maybe an entire podcast, just on a certain topic that you guys are interested in hearing about. Maybe I'll do like a poll on YouTube or something post.
You know what we need?
often.
We need somebody from PCF to come argue with us.
Yes!
True.
Yes, that would be
Happen.
amazing.
They-
I
they're
don't think that's
sleeping
going to
right
happen. Oh.
They're
Get
sleeping.
Toby on there.
He's sleeping. They're sleeping, man. I don't think they're gonna wake up just to, converse
All
with
right,
us.
for the sake of my outro, thank you guys for tuning in for episode 12, and we'll see you next time, whenever that is. Peace.